second, I was only getting in one headphone. And that was weird because I did nothing and it just came back. So concerns me. Good morning. Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. That's Griffin. And for the final time this summer, Young Person Weekly is here with us. Did you prepare your end of semester dissertation?
No, I got young.
Right, yes, we do that every time. Well, it's the final one of the semester. You should have prepared your dissertation.
Tell us everything you learned.
Yeah, there's going to be a quiz.
Is there an evaluation?
Oh, boy. We already filled that one out. Ooh, there's a few things in there that I don't think you're going to want to know about. Don't get me wrong.
Okay. That's all I was looking to do.
You did take this one past me. Carson's here. He will, for one final time, I don't know, fun and frolic throughout the course of the morning. Coming up on the program today, we're going to meet big-time Maryland basketball commit Jeremy Kaiser out of the IMG Academy. He was DMV guy before that. Four-star kid, selected Maryland over a lot of top programs. UCLA was in the mix at one point with Jeremy Kaiser. Indiana, Virginia were the other two finalists. He chose Maryland, and new head coach Kevin Willard believing in what he's learning. So we'll find out what he thinks about that. Also later this morning, we'll talk some Orioles with Mike Bordick. Bummer of a weekend, obviously. And Jeremy Conn to do whatever he do. So that's all coming up on the program. How'd your swagger lineup go on Friday, Griffin?
Not great.
No?
No.
What bit you in the ass on Friday?
A lot did. I thought I was ready for the Luke Voigt revenge game against the Padres, so I took his 2 total bases.
Right.
That didn't hit.
No.
I think most of the strikeout. I didn't do all strikeout props like I probably should have, but I think most of those did hit. I can pull it up and double check.
Well, maybe we just don't relive
We want to
that
talk about all the
and
losses I had.
Maybe we move forward instead. Today is a new day for Griffin to try to put together a better swagger lineup. I'm guessing you're done with the free $10.
I think I might have like $1 left.
Oh, $1 left. Well, you could play a $1 ticket. That is an option. You could do it that way. So here's the deal. We're playing swagger this season, and I'm really excited about it. I'll probably play more tickets when we get to football.
Oh, the Aaron Judge one definitely hit. That was obvious.
Well, you got that going.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. I'll probably play a few more tickets when we get to football season, but I've already played a few for baseball. So what it is, obviously, still not allowed to bet on your phone or on your computer here in the state of Maryland, which is incredibly stupid, but I don't even know if it registers on the top 100 stupids in the history of the state of Maryland. So what do you do instead? Well, you can feel like you're betting when you play with Swagger. Swagger essentially replaces betting like individual games with betting player props and parlays. So they've got the Action X picks, they got the Pick X picks, and so you can improve your odds. Also, they're not doing true odds. Instead, they're doing a points system, and what's cool about that is so if Griffin picks, I'm trying to think of what you might pick tonight. I don't even remember who's pitching tonight. Who's pitching tonight? I know.
Bradish is pitching for the Orioles.
Yeah, against, Kikuchi, right?
Your favorite guy, yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, it always makes me giggle. So if tonight Griffin wants to go over 3.5 strikeouts for Kyle Bradish and wants to go over 1.5 hits for Vlad Jr. and over 1.5 total bases for Jorge Mateo, and then wants to pick something from a different game.
And then Sandy Alcantara's pitching, so obviously take his strikeout number.
He tends to throw a lot of strikeouts. He's quite good. Alcantara, obviously, from Miami. So I don't know what it is. Whatever. Just leave it alone. It's fine. We'll solve that problem another day. It has nothing to do with the point that I'm trying to make. So
Shohei Ohtani's pitching.
there you go. He wants to go Shohei Ohtani to do something that hasn't been seen since Tungsten Armo Doyle. So he puts all those things together on one ticket. He doesn't have to get them all right. Unlike a parlay bet where you have to go, if you put 5 legs of your parlay and you get 4 of them right and you miss one, you're going to lose. It's not like that with Swagger. You get 4 of them right and you only miss one, you're going to get money back because they have a point system that tells you how much money you're going to win. So you're going to win your money back and then some. If you get 3 out of 5, you might at least win your money back. Depends on how risky you were. If you took all the favorites, then, might be a bit trickier. But if you threw in maybe an underdog or two and got yourself some more points, then you could still be a big winner, even if you only get 3 of your 5 correct. That's the idea when you play Swagger. You're winning money. You're betting, even though it doesn't feel like you're betting. And you're doing it for free. Because with Swagger, when you sign up, not only do you immediately get $10 put into your account by going to playwithswagger.com/pressbox. Playwithswagger.com/pressbox. Immediately $10 in your account. But then, when you deposit up to $100, they're going to match that deposit with free money for you to play with. So what it smells like to me is that if you go right now, deposit $100, they match $100, plus they're giving you $10 for free, you're getting $110 for free to play with. And so by virtue of winning, you may never use the money that you deposited. You could be playing with free money forever for Swagger and winning free money. It seems like a win-win-win proposition. Go playwithswagger.com/pressbox. Get signed up today and enjoy playing with Swagger this season. All right, bummer of a weekend for the Baltimore Orioles. They dropped 2 out of 3 to the Rays in Tampa, and particularly a bummer because they had taken Game 1 in such outstanding fashion. Friday night, oh, man, I was feeling good. The Orioles were in a playoff spot. They put together the best offensive performance we had seen all season. Jorge Mateo had like 172 hits in that game. It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. I'm high-fiving. I'm doing roundhouse kicks in my house. There's nothing. Can't stop us now. It's that I'm singing like I'm Freddie Mercury. Don't stop us now. Having a good time. I don't want to stop it. I'm doing the whole thing, right? And then the rest of the weekend occurred. And they got boat raced on Saturday and Sunday. Thankfully, yesterday. And by the way, you're welcome, because we were on the air during the game yesterday, and we were soliciting suggestions for how we could help break up the perfect game. And Chris Hoyles told us that we should flip our hats like shark fins, and so we did. And wouldn't you know it? Maybe we know a thing or two about a thing or two, huh? You're welcome. You're welcome. Still, they dropped 2 out of 3 in Tampa. Now, look, long way to go. Season's far from over. And in any reasonable, even a month and a half ago, if you had said the Orioles were going to be a game and a half out of a playoff spot on August 15th, even once we knew that the season wasn't going to be miserable, if you had said they'll be a game and a half out of a playoff spot on August 15th, we would have said, hell yeah. So we can be reasonable about this. But it sets up another big week, and at some point they're going to have to do something on the road, do some sort of damage on the road. They simply can't win series at home and then lose every series on the road. They're going to have to do some kind of damage on the road. Didn't do it this weekend. That's a bummer. They got another opportunity starting tonight in Toronto. Again, not easy. Good team you're facing. You won 2 games against them last week. We call that the modified sweep. But it ain't easy. At some point, they have to do something on the road. The bigger story from the weekend would be, what exactly were you doing with DL Hall there? As we talked about on Friday, it was weird that they hadn't announced starters for the weekend. As it turns out, that's because they were preparing for the arrival of DL Hall. And then everything else from there makes no sense. You begin with the fact that they clearly knew they were calling up DL Hall. This was not some sort of late-night Friday decision. They had purposely not announced the starter because they knew they were calling someone up, and that means they knew they were calling DL Hall up. So if they knew that, as so many people pointed out, why wouldn't they have DH'd Adley Rutschman on Friday night so that he could catch DL Hall on Saturday? Begin with that. That's the obvious part, right? Like the guy that's the great catcher, that's the best pitch framer, that does all those things. When you have an effectively wild young pitcher coming up to make a start, perhaps you have that guy behind the plate to make that start. You know, also a guy that he's worked with a lot, is quite familiar with. That's weird. Weirder still is that you did it. What a weird thought process to say, we got to get him up. We got to let him get a taste of the bigs specifically as a starter, then we have to send him back down to get prepared to be a reliever. If that was the plan, why wasn't he doing that for the last few weeks to be prepared to be a reliever when he came up the first time? You can't make this make sense, which doesn't mean it's going to prove to be disastrous. It might very well be fine when DL Hall gets back up. He wasn't good on Saturday, but, he wasn't miserable. He didn't look like he could not possibly be a major league pitcher.
He had the stuff too. He touched. He touched 97.
He's always had the stuff. It's the control that's always been the question.
He had the 4 straight strikeouts at one point.
Right. But he also started the game with 6 straight balls.
Yeah. I did think that his changeup looked really good though. He was hitting that. He was hitting the outside corner pretty consistently.
Again, there's a lot to like about DL Hall. There really is. And he wasn't good, but that doesn't mean that he was miserable. It doesn't mean that he got his brains beat in. He just wasn't good. Somebody would say maybe the problem has been that he's been not good a few too many times during the minors, and that there's a reason why people think maybe he's really a guy that could go one time through an order or be a late inning pitcher and not a top-notch starting pitcher. But the Orioles cannot afford to make that decision at the moment. They've got to give him the opportunity to be that guy, and they say they will next year. In the meantime, given where he is innings-wise, given where they are as a team, they believe he could potentially help out of the bullpen. Cool. I get that. It's something Stan's talked about a lot, that would be a way that he could help this season, that when you call him up, you put in the bullpen. But why not just do that? Why go through this charade? My buddy Alan McCallum said, well, this is for the fans, but Rita pointed out, okay, then why wouldn't it be in Baltimore? If you wanted to do this for the fans, let him come up and make a start in Baltimore, get 2,000 extra people to show up for the game, and some excitement for DL Hall Day. You did it in Tampa. What? How does this make sense? And it's a weird thing because when you criticize, it feels like you're saying that these people are incompetent. No, I don't even know that it's going to prove to be wrong. It's just weird. Sometimes things aren't right or wrong. They're just strange. Everything about this is strange.
And then they gave Cedric Mullins an off day as well.
There's a lot of questions about.
This is a chance to send a message to DL Hall, the rest of the organization, that when you get here, we're gonna give you the best chance to win the game and have success. And it was super weird.
It was a super weird scenario.
Even yesterday, too.
Odor
batting 5th.
Right. And Brett Phillips ever being in the lineup.
It's the most important game they've had in 6 years with the head-to-head
the
tie
argument
breaks now.
being, again, because, of course, baseball ruins everything that's great, and they got rid of Game 163. They figured out they needed to keep the extra inning rule because it's the greatest rule that ever existed. But their trade-off was, but what we need to do is take away the other thing that you love, which is a one-game playoff, the greatest words that you could ever say in the history of baseball. So, yes, I think everybody knows at this point that yesterday was going to be the determining factor for who would have a tiebreaker should these teams finish tied for the final wild card spot, which is possible. It's definitely possible that the Orioles and Rays finish tied for the third and final wild card spot. And if that's the case, then the Rays will get it, and the Orioles will be on the outside looking in. It seemed like an important day, and yet Brett Phillips was in your lineup. Brett Phillips, who is incapable of playing baseball. And I'm trying to be as nice about this as I possibly can. This one is enraging. This is the one. Whatever they did with DL Hall, weird. Very weird, unnecessary, but I can kind of shake it off as a whatever. I don't really know what the thought process is here. I don't really know. No matter how many times you try to explain it, it doesn't. To say the words, he wanted to get his feet wet, makes no sense. He can get his feet wet as a reliever. There is no rule that someone has to get their feet wet as a starting pitcher. That doesn't. What are we doing here? What is that? But again, just weird. Just very strange, head-scratching. I can move on from it and say whatever. Brett Phillips' presence on this baseball team, I can't do that with. It's embarrassing. It's not only not what you do when you're trying to win, it's not even what you would do when you were trying to lose. There is no purpose to Brett Phillips. I don't care how nice of a guy he is. I don't care that he was out there in the middle of the brouhaha on Saturday. This isn't Rougned Odor, who, despite the fact he hasn't had a good season, has come up with big hits and is clearly a rallying factor for the rest of this baseball team, a respected player from all of the other guys on this baseball team who they take their cues from. This is a dude who showed up in the middle of things, incapable of playing baseball, and you continue to let him play baseball. It'd be like signing Griffin.
It would be. I'm left-handed too. I hit probably about 100.
Can you wear a goofy, massive helmet when you go to the plate?
Of course I will. Of course I will.
That's embarrassing. That's the one that I keep coming back to and saying it's really hard for you to try to sell me on the fact that you're trying when you let Brett Phillips play for your baseball team. They can't spend money on something real. They traded money. Any dollars at all for Brett Phillips. Sorry, I don't want to make it personal. It's a rule that I have. There's a word I was about to use, and I just don't want to say it because he's a worthless baseball player. I'm not saying he's not a worthless human being. He's got a lot going on for him. Nice guy, and I'm trying my best here. He offers nothing to a baseball team. This is some major league S. This is what you do when you guys are playing too well. We have to make you worse somehow. We'll go get Brett Phillips. And they put him out there. The DL Hall stuff is confusing. I mean, it really is confusing. What's far more confusing is that Brett Phillips is playing in a major league game and Kyle Stowers isn't. And I know that if they called up Kyle Stowers, they wouldn't have every day at bats for him, and that's kind of the problem with all of this. And so they want him playing every day, and he couldn't do that at the major leagues because they're not ready to take Austin Hayes or Anthony Santander out of the lineup every day. Now, you would think that he would get enough at-bats considering you don't really have a DH at the moment. Certainly, you don't need Tyler Nevin to get at-bats. Vavra, you do, of course.
Sure.
But you would think that somehow they could do the math to allow for, if you want to play Stowers in the outfield, you can have Santander get some at-bats. Or you could have Stowers DH if you want to keep Santander's glove and his arm out there. Whatever it is that you want to do. You can't justify there ever being at-bats for Brett Phillips. Ever. Under any circumstances. It is unjustifiable.
And now, because the argument when we picked up Phillips was that why isn't it Stowers? And it was, Stowers wasn't on the 40-man. We'd have to DFA
yes,
somebody.
They have room.
But now, Brett Phillips is if we're going to DFA somebody, that's the guy. There's the spot. And we've not seen it yet.
Infuriating. It's so infuriating. But again, all you got to do, go to Toronto, win some games. You sweep this series, you move ahead of Toronto in the standings. You're still only 2.5 games back of the first wild card team.
We rocked Kikuchi last time out.
That is a fact, just last week.
Hit him very hard.
That is a fact. So you hope the Orioles can similarly have some success, this time in Toronto. The good news being, unlike a lot of teams, they got all their guys. They're going up there locked and loaded with the entire team, ready to try to win some games against the Blue Jays starting tonight. And Kyle Bradish is on the mound, and you'd like to see some more good things from Kyle Bradish. But still a bummer of a weekend. Still, just particularly after how we were feeling on Friday night. Man, on Friday night, I was ready to fight the world. I was so ready. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing on Friday night. It's the most excited I've ever been about anything in my life. And then just 48 hours of getting punched in the D, just consecutively. That's what it is. All right, today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Oh, man, the Toyota Tacoma. That's what I want to tell you about. It might be time for me to look into getting Tacoma. It comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Let's switch gears here on GCR. our next guest, made the decision. He's coming to Maryland. He's going to play for Kevin Willard. A lot of big-time programs are interested. Virginia and Indiana were also among the finalists. I know UCLA was involved. He comes from the IMG Academy, but before that, from the DMV. He is a 4-star commit. He's Jeremy Kaiser Jr., and he joins us now here on GCR. Jamie, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Thanks for having me.
Jamie, can you take me through just your timeline? When did Maryland come into the picture, and when did you know, like, this is where I'm supposed to be?
Well, they honestly came into the picture when I was getting recruited for football. Coach Loxley was like, if you want to play both, you can play both. When I had been getting recruited, and, the whole staff left and everything. And Willard's first week there, I had gone on an unofficial to Maryland for football, and then we walked into Coach Willard's office. It was his first week there, and he was like, I don't think there are any problems with you playing basketball here if you want to do both. So, but then when I decided to drop football, they had offered me right away a full basketball scholarship, and it just feels like home. So I just feel real comfortable up there.
Any thought at all that maybe like 2 years down the road, you're like, you know what, I wouldn't mind still trying to give football another shot? Like, any thought at all, or are you totally sold? It's definitely just basketball moving forward.
Yeah, no, just basketball.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I don't know. Maryland football is looking kind of exciting, though, Jamie. Like, there might be a moment. They keep moving towards the competition, the Big Ten. So the new staff comes in. What was the first connection that you made? Was it with Kevin Willard? Was it one of the assistants? Like, tell me how it worked once the new staff got there.
It was right when the new staff got there. I met them face to face when I went to my football unofficial. But Coach Cox, he had been recruiting me when he was at Rhode Island, and then
okay.
So he came to watch one of my first AAU game, and yeah.
Were you at all, Jamie, were you at all nervous about how long it might take a new staff to sort of get things go? Typically in college basketball, new coaches come in. You like to say, hey, you want to give them 2 to 3 years to sort of lay the foundation, get their guys in, and get rolling. Why did that not scare you off, the thought of how long it might take for Kevin Willard to get this thing changed and turned around?
Because I watched the practice. When I went on my official on the basketball side, and I was able to watch a practice, the energy was just different. Coach Willard, he just has a certain excitement for the game that, a lot of coaches don't have. He's hands-on with the players. He's big on player development and just building confidence in guys. And I feel like if you want guys to produce, you need them to have confidence. And that's what he's given to his players. And I feel like if I get there, when I get there, that it'll just be awesome because he's just such an energetic guy. And, he does have to prove himself, but I feel like just based off what he did at Seton Hall and just his track record of winning and just being an exciting coach and hands-on, I think will help.
He is Jeremy Kaiser Jr. He's coming to the University of Maryland. He's with us here on GCR. Jamie, do you get the sense that he's going to be able to, like, by the time you get here next year, that he could have things turned around? We saw this with, was Iowa State last season, where they went from 2 wins to, the Sweet 16.
Right.
Do you believe that what Kevin Willard's doing, it might not take as long, and things could already be turned around by the time you get there?
You never know. You always hope that happens, but you never really know until you see the team for the first time. So, yeah.
When you were growing up, was Maryland a big deal to you? Like, did it matter to you, the idea of playing at the University of Maryland?
Hell yeah. Yeah, because I had gone to games since I was a kid, first grade, second grade. Like, when they were in the ACC, it was jumping. I watched, Des Wells, Terrell Stoglin. Like, I was just a big fan of Maryland basketball. It's only 40 minutes from my house.
Right.
So, football games, too, and I was like, you know what? I only dreamed of playing there because, I didn't think I was going to be good enough until about a month ago. So, yeah.
So you were still worried that you weren't going to elevate. You're a 4-star guy. Like, you're a guy that's been rising. When you say until about a month ago, like, is that legit? Like, you didn't know that you were going to be able to go there?
No, like in the springtime, like April, May.
Okay.
Like, that's when I started to realize. But before that, it was really between George Mason, George Washington, because that's all I had.
Wow.
So I was like, it would be a dream to go to a Power 5 school like that. So, Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, all the Power 5 schools were interested. It didn't take long. All of a sudden, they were all in the mix pretty quickly. Also, obviously, being at the IMG Academy. How's that helped you, making the trip down there, being at a place where obviously things are so athletic-centric and basketball-centric? What's it done for you to raise your game to a place where you're going to be ready to make the jump to the Big Ten?
Well, yeah, I mean, the competition the competition in practice was the big one that sold me. I played in the WCAC last year. That's top-notch competition every day in game. But practice is somewhere I really need to be pushed, especially, going off to college. And I feel like IMG, just as far as their preparation, is the most similar thing you can get to college in any high school program. So I feel like that's just going to boost my game to the next level. And, I'm going to be coming back home. So
yeah,
it's not going away for a year because I'm gonna be right back.
How excited were your friends and family that you made that decision? You didn't end up somewhere like Indiana, like that you're coming back where they're going to be able to come watch you and be at every game.
Oh, it was awesome because a lot of my friends are fans. Like I had people stopping me in Chipotle, like, "Oh, thanks for staying home." This and that. I'm like, I don't know.
I mean,
it's just.
Are they buying you a burrito at least? Like, can you at least? I mean, we're living in the days of NIL now, right? Like, you should be able to. Hey, if you're really appreciative, maybe like hook me up, throw in a cookie or something.
Right.
Well, that's cool. What did it mean to your family? Like, what were those conversations like? And did that part of it play a role in the decision that you made?
Like staying home?
Yeah.
No, not at all. Because I once like Oregon and UCLA and Stanford had gotten to the mix, my dad was like, those aren't bad options at all. It's Pac-12. It's like my type of style, like, shoot a lot, run, freelance kind of play. And he was like, let's take those visits. But I was like, no, there's just a certain comfort level that I had being home. We had a lot of conversations, hours and hours. And, it happened all so fast, so we had to knock things out the way pretty quickly. So, yeah.
All right. Now, tell me about the relationship you developed with John Lamothe. And it seems like you guys are kind of hitting this thing running as you arrive, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I played with John 8th, 9th, 10th grade. So, I mean, I know John. He's a great teammate. He's one of my favorite teammates that I've actually ever played with. He's just so unselfish. He likes to have fun on the court. And, he works hard like I work hard. So, we complement each other real well.
That's cool, man. That's cool that you guys are going to continue this process together. Was he bugging you? Was he like were you getting maybe almost like moment to moment texts from him like, dude, when you gonna announce? When you gonna announce?
Yeah, I mean, I text him. He texts me pretty often. He wasn't bugging me or anything though, but yeah, we just let each other know like what was going on because like as I was narrowing down my decision, I was like, I think I'm going to commit.
Who's next for you now? Now that you're fully on board. Who are you working on as a recruiter?
Deshaun Harris-Smith.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot. What are those conversations like?
I try to talk to him as much as possible. So, like, I'm just like, we can just build something that's crazy now. Like people want to, that makes people want to stay home because I feel like if the DMV had guys that stayed home, they'd be contending for championships every year just because the talent is so rich. But everyone wants to, go away, but it's something special about staying home and doing it in front of your own people is what I always tell him. And, but he's such a good player, he can go anywhere he wants, but I just try to tell him that, it's just a certain freedom that you'll get and a certain comfort level that you'll have, and you'll be able to expand your game the more comfortable you feel because you won't have to worry about much else.
For those that don't know, Deshaun Harris-Smith, also considering Penn State, Xavier, Indiana, Villanova, so he's down to Final Five. Also a really talented wing. I'm just trying to imagine all of you dudes, all that athleticism on the floor together at the same time. That seems pretty difficult for other teams to be able to keep up with.
Yeah, I mean we can all handle the ball.
Right.
It's just a three-headed snake in the backcourt, if we all play at the same.
It seems like it would be a very good combination. We will be rooting for that. Let's talk more about that as we're wrapping up with Jamie Kaiser. Your game. What is it that Maryland fans need to know about you, the style in which you play, maybe somebody that you kind of mold what you do after? What should they be expecting when you get here, Jamie?
Like a lot of energy. I play really hard, crash offensive rebounds, die on the floor, take a charge. I just play really tough. and I feel like that translated from football. But offensively, I feel like it's more of like I can shoot it really well, mid-range, take advantage of mismatches, kind of like a Devin Booker-ish, like a bigger guard that can shoot and, go to the basket really hard. So, yeah.
We like the sounds of it. What will you be capable of accomplishing at the University of Maryland? However long you end up being here, however many seasons ends up being, what do you believe you're capable of accomplishing here?
A national championship.
We like the sounds of that, too. We like the sound. It's been a long time, Jamie. It's been since before you were born, which is a scary sentence to say for old guys like me. It is time to bring back that era of basketball to the University of Maryland. And then tell me something about you away from hoops, like just something we should know about you as a person. What are you into when you're not playing basketball? What's life look like for Jamie Kaiser?
I just like to hang out with my friends, enjoy Burke. The city of Burke, a lot of, it's kind of small, but, people have fun out here, a lot of fishing, just chilling, biking. I just like to hang out with my friends.
Obviously you're a football guy. Did you grow up as a Commanders fan?
Oh, no. My whole family's from Pennsylvania, so I'm a diehard Steelers
Oh,
fan.
somehow you made it worse, Jamie. Of course, we're here in Baltimore, so... Oh, man, that is a painful sentence for you to say, my friend. Well, good luck not having a quarterback, huh? Good luck with that, Kaiser. Enjoy not having it's whatever. We know the Steelers will probably be good again soon, and that's the terrible part. That's the difficult part for us here in Baltimore is we know it won't last long. All right, Jamie, what can we plug for you? Twitter, Instagram, anything like that. Where can Maryland fans be giving you a follow?
Instagram, all lowercase Jamie_.Kaiser.
And then is it at J_Kaiser53 on Twitter?
Yep.
Very good. Give him a follow there. Jamie Kaiser, man, congratulations on making this decision and all the success you've had. Best of luck this year. And then we can't wait to see you and get to know you more as you arrive in College Park. Best wishes, and thank you for taking the time for us this morning, all right?
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Jamie Kaiser Jr., four-star guy. Head of the University of Maryland out of the IMG Academy. Very talented, bigger wing, as he mentioned, the Devin Booker comparison. Bigger. He's a guard. He's not a four. He's not 6'11", but very athletic, guy that can shoot.
Yeah, played football.
Yeah, obviously he's quite physical, right? Like all of those things. So you like the sounds of that. Of course, there's a lot of other things that Kevin Willard's got to get figured out as he starts to lay the foundation for what Maryland basketball will be in the coming years. But appreciate Jamie Kaiser Jr. taking the time for us here this morning. All right. Stan the Fan and Ross Grimsley coming up a little bit later on today. They're going to do a very unique show as they are going to be chatting with the scout that was most significant in getting Jackson Holliday to the Baltimore Orioles. Orioles scout Ken Guthrie is going to join them tonight at 6 o'clock. He was the lead scout working on Jackson Holliday. And I know that you say to yourself, well, he was the number one pick. It couldn't have been that hard. Well, you still have to trust your scouts. You still have to, especially when there's debate like there was this year about who the number one guy should be, you absolutely have to trust your scouts. So Ken Guthrie, Orioles scout, will join Stan and Ross today at 6 o'clock to break down why it was Jackson Holliday, what he's going to bring to the table, all of those things. You can find that Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Or if you miss it live, see it tomorrow, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/video. Young Utes, one final time for the summer is next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Swagger is a daily fantasy sports site created for sports fans who want some skin in the game and a real shot at winning. Forget plus-minus odds, Swagger uses points for a better way to understand probabilities. If you're tired of losing because of one bad pick, with Swagger, you don't need to be perfect to win. You just create a lineup of 4 to 10 simple player props and score points for the ones you get right. So you can be half right and all right with Swagger. Swagger offers the most player props and biggest payouts of any DFS site, as much as 50 times your buy-in. Plus, you can play all the major pro sports, including your favorite local teams. If you're ready to play, visit playwithswagger.com/pressbox to sign up, and Swagger will give you $10 free to try them out. Plus, they'll match your first deposit 100% up to $100. It's free money to play with Swagger. Swagger, daily fantasy for all fankind. Playwithswagger.com/pressbox.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Summer is in full swing, and so is the summer seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. Start with the opener, flash fried pork belly with their popular Korean No. 2 sauce. And try their South Carolina barbecue chicken, or backed by popular demand, the lobster roll with grilled corn. Also try the irresistible crab and lobster fries, or the very berry salad with chicken. And for dessert, the Cracker Jack sundae with a waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jacks. This menu will be gone. Find out more and get your order in at glorydaysgrill.com. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
To follow the show on Instagram, it's just Glenn Clark Radio. And to follow the show on OnlyFans, wait, I don't think you're supposed to know about that one. Any hoodle. Take it away, boys.
All right, back in here on GCR. Thanks again to Jamie Kaiser Jr. Looking forward to seeing him in College Park. Kyle Ottenheimer shared a clip of Buck Showalter, and I am always for a good clip of Buck Showalter because, you know, God bless him. So, Griffin, I'm going to send this link to you if you don't mind pulling it up. I don't even know what it is, but Kyle retweeted it and said, I would die for this man. So, and by the way, I believe that because when we would have Buck on the show, Kyle would be, I'm not kidding. The phone line would ring. Kyle would pick it up. It would be Buck, and Kyle's face would just be like, oh, "Hey, Buck," and I don't blame him. I mean, I truly love Buck Showalter. I want to make that abundantly clear. So I just want to, having not heard it at all, this is not something I would do on the radio. On the radio, I would want to make sure I had heard the clip before because it could involve an F-bomb. Not that Buck's likely to do that, but I'm going to do that on this show. I have not heard this clip once. Comes to us from SNY, Sportsnet, or Sports New York, whatever the Mets network. And here's Buck Showalter, something related to Broadway.
I was doing the math today on Broadway. Like, how big's the theater? How much is the average ticket? How much to pay the actors? Very interesting. Took my wife to one the other night.
Which one?
Music Man.
Well, thank you, Harold.
I thought you had already forgotten.
I was trying to figure out what, you look at something from 8 shows a week, kind of like us, kind of about the same length of the season. They work at night. It's kind of interesting to see how that whole thing works. I'm mesmerized. Huh?
Much smaller venue.
Pardon?
Much smaller venue.
Yeah. 1,526 capacity there. I had a lot of time to think. I was mesmerized by the set, the orchestra, and their voices.
Yeah.
You wake up and your voice isn't there. What happens? Oh, it's pretty. That kind of stuff I have curiosity about because I've never been exposed to it.
Might have to get refunds if Hugh Jackman's not there at that one.
You can?
I don't know.
Was he the guy? Was he the? Huh?
Generally, no. Just out of luck.
I was under the. I thought you had to kind of dress up or at least wear. No, it's turned into casual Friday again. Everything's casual Friday.
I don't know.
Nobody even works on Fridays.
I'm fascinated by how this started.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, I would like to know.
Right? Like,
maybe they asked him what he did.
I don't know.
The weekend.
It seems like Buck just sort of went, because he would do this a lot during Orioles press conference, where there would be some sort of sidebar that he felt like talking about. There'd be like a second between questions. Like there would be, like people trying to figure out if they want to ask another question. He would feel like things are winding down. And then he would just want to start talking about his own thing. And it was just so wonderful. Like it was just so bloody wonderful. God, I can't believe he was ours. I can't believe we had that joy in our lives for as long as we did, and now somebody else gets to experience it. And I don't know, they've won about 100 straight games. God damn there. I get wistful. I get wistful thinking about Buck.
Buck does a good job of finding good closers, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's decent at that. That's for sure. He is decent at that. All right. I don't think the young Utes are all that concerned about the Music Man and Hugh Jackman and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something. The math on whether or not you can afford to make a Broadway show work, I don't think is something that the young Utes are all that concerned about. But what are the young Utes concerned about? That's what we're going to find out for one final time. Carson Weekly, before he heads back to Ole Miss, which apparently we learned this morning is kind of a poverty SEC program.
Yeah, like I
the
think
hell
we could,
is going on?
Oh,
I
we
think
knew
we
that.
could
We
say
knew that.
the out-of-conference schedule is not challenging. That's what we'll say.
I feel like they've played real games before. Like,
we won 10 games last year.
No, but like, haven't they played against real non-conference opponents at some point?
I think
I get that we're getting to the point where like everybody's in the conference. Like in the next couple of years, where like there's not going to be a non-conference opponent because there's only going to be 2 conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand like we're getting to a problem there. But don't I remember them playing like in one of those, like in that like early season Atlanta game or something?
We played
like that?
Louisville last year.
Louisville, there you go, and it was a big game.
We played another.
It's better than what did we see? Troy and
Central Arkansas.
Georgia Tech, I think.
That's by far the biggest.
Yeah,
game.
that's actually a real game.
It's a
Tulsa.
real-ish game. Tulsa.
Yeah,
That sounds like Maryland's non-conference schedule. Actually, Maryland normally plays a West Virginia or Texas or somebody good. What the hell's going on?
I couldn't tell you. Considering we were in the top 10 a few times last year, you'd think they'd want to.
You would think
challenge. Like even we were just talking about this before the show started.
Matt Corral's gone though,
right?
So, I mean, do you have a quarterback?
Jackson Dart.
That's
transfer.
Right.
We got him in the USC tight end.
That's
We got them both.
That's
but
right.
Glenn and I were talking about this. Like even Arkansas scheduled Cincinnati.
Yeah,
and they're historically. They're still a good team, but they finished lower than a lot of teams last year in the SEC, and they're still playing a real game.
That's a great point.
We are not.
Well, Carson Weekly's headed back to Ole Miss tomorrow. He came in today so we could wander over to Glory Days Grill after the show. I'm looking forward to that after we devoured all of the South Carolina barbecue chicken last week. Griffin, what's going on the internet that you're so fascinated by?
I'm just looking at Ole Miss's past opponents.
Okay. We don't care.
Got
that much.
curious.
We can move on from that topic. We can come back. You can come back and join us now. We devoured all that
Southeastern
Carolina.
Louisiana.
Oh, that was a big one.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big one. We're going to go over there today. We're going to get some more South Carolina barbecue chicken. I'm definitely going to get the flash fried pork belly, the opener, with the Korean No. 2 sauce. That will be occurring. Maybe some smoky thigh wings. Just have a nice smorgasbord over at Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com. Final weeks for you to take advantage of the summer seasonal menu. Don't miss out the lobster roll with the grilled corn, the crab and lobster fries, the Cracker Jack Sundae, all available at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, GloryDaysGrill.com. All right, what are the young Utes talking about?
Okay, a couple different things. So Playboy Cardi is a rapper that's
didn't he have child with one Iggy Azalea?
I know they were together for a while. They have a kid.
Yeah, that's what that would be when I say have child with. That would be the exact same thing.
They've got.
You could just say yes.
Yes,
might be the better way.
They've got a kid. But he's balding. That's like.
Oh, well, how old is the man?
I think
Cardi's balding.
Yeah, Playboy Cardi is balding. Let me.
For some reason, I thought we were talking about the kid. I don't know.
Let me look up how old he is.
All right.
So he's
25.
Oh,
I mean,
there's a photo and
All right.
It's kind of
good for him. I don't know what to say here.
People, but it's been kind of a topic of discussion because he's kind of famous for like he's got the dreadlocks and he'll get different designs and things shaved into one side of his head, and I don't think he's gonna be able to do that anymore because he's balding.
So, but why do we care? Like,
why Playboy Cardi.
This is Glenn. This is people my age. This is people that are amused by things like this.
But okay, do you care about anything else that Playboy Cardi does?
His music?
Is he that big of a deal?
And
yes.
I mean, the Iggy
I never thought he was that big of a deal.
The Iggy Azalea thing was a pretty big deal when they broke up. He's got a pretty big following. Let's see how many followers he has on Instagram.
I'm not. That's fine. I believe that he's got a big following. He's a rapper. I just didn't know he was somebody that like something so innocuous would be so concerned.
Yeah, it was trending on Twitter for
like
a while.
if he was involved in some sort of dispute, I could see where that would be interesting. If it's just that he's balding,
is this the picture that they're
I don't
freaking out
really.
about?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't really see how that would be something that would get a lot of attention on the old interwebs.
It was on some of the like World Star Hip Hop.
It might be time for you guys to get a hobby. This might be the moment.
Listening
if
to
you're
Playboy
all
Cardi's
that concerned
music.
about Playboy Cardi's balding, it just might be time for maybe to look into something else in the world.
I would
because a
agree.
lot of these things that you give me, I'm like, that is fascinating. This is not. This is not in any way fascinating.
Glenn,
not remotely. This is a C-level celebrity losing his hair.
You got to know your personnel. These are people that are very amused by little innocuous things.
This is just not interesting.
So someone tweeted out a potential bar now for Cardi is he could say bald head like Ginobili.
Yes.
Okay, sure. I got nothing here.
Sounds like we should move on.
Might
to
be
number
time
two.
to move on to number two.
All
I've
right,
got nothing to offer to the conversation about
number
Playboy
two.
Cardi losing his hair. I mean, was his hair a big deal? Did people care?
I mean, there was one time.
I know he had the dreadlocks.
He shaved a pentagram
Right.
into the side of his head one time,
But
and
like,
that was like, whoa.
was it the type of thing that
okay.
like the internet would talk about every time?
I mean,
All right,
the
never
pentagram.
mind. I tried. I can't help here. Go. Move forward. Number two.
All right, the newest trend that's taken TikTok by storm is the teenage dirtbag trend.
Oh, now I'm in.
And basically, people are like,
You have no idea how much this song meant to me.
They'll show a current picture, and that song's in the background, and
Yeah.
they'll show a picture of their mom or their dad, and then a teenage dirtbag photo of them, and it's pretty interesting.
So the idea is you share a picture of your parent now.
And then
like a
teenage dirtbag photo of them.
So like somebody would find when I did like I put like 1,000 braids in my hair and I did this like pineapple look.
Exactly.
And they'd be like, look at this douchebag. Like look at.
Or they're like, look, here's my dad when he had frosted tips, like that kind of thing.
I am in favor of this.
I like coming
love
across
this. A lot of things about social media are stupid. This is not.
They were like, here's my mom when she wore denim on denim.
Oh, tremendous. That's so good.
It is a good trend.
Plus, your parents will never know they're not on.
That's right.
Like, they'll be mocked unmercifully
It's
on the internet, and your parents will never know about it.
Yep.
It's a 10.5.
Yeah, it's a good trend. I do like this. Have you seen them?
I have not seen them. I have not seen them.
It's only on TikTok?
It's as far as I know. I mean, I'm sure some of them get posted on Instagram too. But here, like, if I look up teenage dirtbag on TikTok, there's gonna be a million of them that come up.
Hang on a second.
Here we go.
I'm trying to pull up.
There's just like a million of them all in here.
Yeah, it's clearly a thing. It's clearly. Although, hang on a second. I feel like some people are doing it for themselves.
Yes, that's.
That.
I think. That's a little bit like.
That's just trying to latch on.
Parents, that's fun, but yourself is just. A little
Right.
You want to see Tom Holland's teenage dirtbag?
He probably looks the same. Yeah, he looks the same
But
as
he's
he does
posting
there.
it for himself.
Yeah. Well,
That's
no,
lame.
somebody he didn't post it. Somebody else.
Oh,
is just
somebody
digging
else.
It up. Yeah, somebody else digs it
did
up.
their teenage dirtbag. It's one of the greatest songs of all time. There was a thing floating around yesterday on social media. I noticed that "Return of the Mac" was trending, and "Return of the Mac" is also one of the greatest pieces of music in human history. And the reason why it was trending was because somebody posted like, "All right, Black Twitter, it's time to choose Return of the Mac or This Is How We Do It by Montel Jordan." I'm like, what the F? I don't even hate This Is How We Do It. I know it was vastly overplayed and it became, kind of a caricature of a song, but I still think that it's a banger. I still think that, like,
I love that song.
If I was out somewhere and I heard it, I'd sing along to every word. Like, I still think it's the case. But you're comparing it to Return of the Mac, one of the most important pieces of music ever. You know how many times I knew what Mark Morrison was feeling? You lied to me! You lied! And I do. And I do. You know how many times that would go on in my life? As my friend Sean Creedle, who used to sit in on Glenn, my old show, my radio show, said, I remember you once playing that song 10 times in one show. Yes, I did, because it's one of the greatest songs of all time. Teenage Dirtbag, quite similar. Teenage Dirtbag is ubiquitous, despite the fact that it was a song from my high school years. The emotions, the teenage angst that you can feel within that song, they exist throughout humanity. The feeling of not being worthy of someone's love and then finding out that the girl that you had the crush on actually felt the same way about you. It don't matter. You could be born in 1983 or 2003. You could be born in this year and probably understand it. Like, it is perfection as songs go. I am so glad that this is the soundtrack for a popular trend. May it live on forever. May Teenage Dirtbag never die. I put the guy on a show a couple years ago because I was like, dude, you have no idea what your song means to me. And he was like, well, actually, I kind of do. Like, I've heard that.
I wrote the thing.
I've heard that from basically everyone I've ever come across. I get the sense that you'd be like, it'd be nice if someone wanted to talk to me about one of my other songs, but no one ever does. It's always the one song, and it's nice to have something that has stood the test of time the way that Teenage Dirtbag goes. With your life on the line, you could not name the artist that performed Teenage Dirtbag.
No, I couldn't. I just looked it up, so that's why I know.
Of course you couldn't.
Yeah.
Wheatus.
Yeah.
Wheatus. Is the band that gave us Teenage Dirtbag. All right, and number 3, what else are the Young Utes? Because that one I liked. First one, not so much. That one
it was, you know, it really, because these, I think what happened was the first one was a little bit of a, not a stretch.
I care about the Playboy Cardi thing.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting.
These two are just such heavy hitters that the balding thing just kind of had to take a backseat.
All right.
Kanye West. Well, first, let me premise this by saying, so we all know Kim K and Pete Davidson are done.
It's very sad. I haven't really gotten over it yet. Love is not real.
Kanye West continued his streak of just like trolling people basically he's since deleted it, but the day that they announced they were divorced, or split up or whatever you want to call it, he posted a picture of a newspaper with the headline, Skeet Davidson dead at 28.
I saw that. Very cool, Kanye.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And he had like all of his other friends in the comments were like,
by the way, and this is the real issue with no one is. This is when you hate the internet, because there is no thought that life is real, that any of these people are real, that you can just do whatever the F you want, and in stan culture, it's okay. This is the issue with all of that, right? It turns into this debate about, Pete Davidson was a D-bag to Kanye West. Who cares? What does this have to do with you in any way? The only thing you should say is, like, I hope these people get help. All of them. Kanye West I haven't talking about for a long time because he's so far gone. I don't know that there's any coming back from it. And his music is not nearly as good anymore as people still try to pretend like it is. Once upon a time, it was phenomenal. It was outstanding. And then people just started calling him a genius. He is not, but they just started calling him a genius. So it didn't matter if he was making good music or not, because they had decided that everything the man did musically, it did not matter how crazy he was, because everything he did musically was so good. That's not the case. He's made a lot of bad music over those years. It's funny? We do the same thing with Taylor Swift. We've all convinced ourselves that Taylor Swift is genius. Her folk record stunk. It was terrible. It won Album of the Year at the Grammys because no one is capable of saying, hey, this is actually very bad.
We wouldn't have got Taylor Swift without Kanye. He made her famous.
Right. Yeah, that's not true, but yes, I get it.
True.
I mean, he did raise her level of fame.
Opened up a whole can of worms.
That might be
right
true.
There.
It's just all of it is so pathetic. Like, all of it. And I saw that, Pete Davidson's going to see somebody about the PTSD he's experienced from being harassed by Kanye West. And, if that's true, I feel for the man. I'm glad he's getting help. I wish that at some point Kanye West would get help. But he won't do that because he feels like that he has to be this guy because it's what makes him so scary, fascinating, and interesting and all that. God damn.
It's a headache.
Oh.
It's very sad. I'm a big Kanye fan.
Why?
Because like you said, he's a genius. I mean,
no, he's not.
Yeah,
he's not even remotely a genius. not a little bit of a genius.
He makes really good
He used to make some good music. He used to make some very good music. He started not making good music. He started thinking it like he started appreciating the smell of his own farts. Like, whatever I do is so good, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. And that was a long time ago. Like, it's been a decade at least. And we just
Life of Pablo, very good album.
We're just gonna keep doing this.
Yeah,
we're gonna
have to.
God,
6 years
apparently.
ago.
One of the I didn't know Griffin was a stan. Was involved.
I guess
Stan
I am
culture.
a Kanye stan technically.
It's so embarrassing. God,
No,
it's
it's not.
embarrassing. Oh,
Great
no
musical artist.
Stop.
Yeah, he is.
Stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
I'm not embarrassing myself because
one
it's
day
true.
in the future, when you're a little bit older and you have more things going on in your life, you're gonna realize
I
how
never
embarrassing
will
this
because
is.
College Dropout exists.
Right? No, College Dropout was a wonderful record. That's the thing. Once upon a time, he made good music,
and that's all he needed to do.
It was a very long time ago.
And he still followed it up.
All right, Carson Weekly, thank you, pal. You did a good job all summer long.
Thank you. Yeah, for the opportunity and.
That just sort of tailed off. Right.
I don't know.
I was expecting there to be a follow up to it.
It went by. It went by fast.
It was just like
It did fly by.
Like oh.
Seems like
okay. That's it then.
Seems like just yesterday
Just
I
the
was.
opportunity.
Seems like just yesterday I was.
Yeah,
hearing,
you've grown up so much.
Well, it seems like just yesterday I was hearing Andrew Stecca saying how much he liked the idea of two guys.
That's right.
That was my first day.
He did like the idea.
And now here we are.
We should bring that clip back. Thank you for the reminder.
New table, new studio.
That's right.
Same guys.
The glow up, as the kids
Yes,
say.
it was a glow up.
All right, very good. Hour number 1 of today's show is in the books. When we come back in, we're going to chat with Mike Bordick, get his thoughts on what ended up being an awkward weekend, just where the Orioles are as a whole. What the hell are they doing with DL Hall? We'll talk about all that. Mike Bordick joins us next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Visit Howard County presents the 2022 Major League Quidditch Championship, a Harry Potter-inspired, real-life, full-contact, mixed-gender, 12-team Quidditch tournament happening at Troy Park in Elkridge, August 20th through the 22nd. For tickets and more information, go to visithowardcounty.com. Maryland, be open for it.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The 2022 baseball season is in full swing, and the future is brighter than ever for your Baltimore Orioles. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
And together we bring you the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon with everything you need to know about the Orioles and baseball as a whole. From veterans like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Ryan Mountcastle,
to young stars like Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez, and DL Hall.
We've got you covered for every game, every pitch,
and every debut.
You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. So join us live on the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Summer is in full swing, and so is the summer seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. Start with the opener, flash fried pork belly with their popular Korean No. 2 sauce, and try their South Carolina barbecue chicken, or backed by popular demand, the lobster roll with grilled corn. Also try the irresistible crab and lobster fries, or the very berry salad with chicken. And for dessert, the Cracker Jack sundae with a waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jacks. This menu will be gone. Find out more and get your order in at glorydaysgrill.com. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
These are the final days for you to pick up the very special Salute to Coaches issue of Press Box, with John Harbaugh on the cover and 8 other area high school, college, and pro coaches recognized inside, with amazing stories told by the athletes whose lives they've impacted the most. You can find the Salute to Coaches issue for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read every Press Box print issue at PressBoxOnline.com. And coming soon, our football preview issue, which features Ravens tight end Mark Andrews on the cover and profiles of players from Maryland, Navy, Towson, and Morgan State.
It's statistically proven that the show sounds better if you're not wearing pants. Like me. Right now. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
Into hour number 2 of the program, a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Our buddy Jeremy Conn will check in with us a little bit later on. Right now, speaking of 105.7 The Fan, you hear this man, Baltimore baseball tonight, as well as, of course, the work he's done with the Baseball Warehouse and his insane nutritional advice that he gives you, where I could never eat like him, but I, of course, also never look like he does with his shirt off. That will never happen. He is our friend Mike Bordick, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Mike, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm all right. It would have been nice if the Orioles had won one of the last 2 games. It was kind of a bummer of a way for the weekend to turn after Friday night. Let me start, if I could, with you. What do you make of all of this with DL Hall? Like, what do you make of this? Got to bring him up to get a start, to get his feet wet before we send him back down to get in the bullpen. Adley Rutschman not catching him on Saturday. Like, I don't think I'm mad about it, but I admittedly am a bit confused by everything that they're doing, Mike.
No, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I've been scratching my head about this ever since DL got the call. Initially it sounded like Mike Elias was saying, at least by the tone of his voice, that he was here. He had arrived to the big leagues and he will help this team, make a push for the postseason. So wrong about that. Absolutely. Why wouldn't Adley Rutschman catch him in his debut? I mean, I would think he'd be very comfortable throwing to Adley Rutschman after all the times they've worked together in the minor leagues. And then to, boom, send him out like that. And to actually call him up to play against Tampa in arguably one of the most important series of the year, at least to this point. And then send him right back out and say, well, we're going to use him in the bullpen. Now, I initially had hoped that he would actually start in the bullpen. I think Brandon Hyde's got a nice feel for players. I think what he did with Adley Rutschman when he came out and said, well, I wanted to start him lower in the batting order just to get him, acclimatized a little bit to the big league level, not to put too much pressure on him. And then, boom, now he's a number 2 hitter. Who knows? He'll probably be a 3 hitter when it's all said and done. But I thought they might do the same thing with DL Hall. And, I know the bullpen's really strong, but they've lost a huge piece with Lopez. And who knows? He could work arguably like an Aiken out of the bullpen. And if he settles in, boom, give an inning. And then, hey, he looked really good. Let's try him for another inning.
Right.
Let's try him for another inning. So, but I was completely wrong on that. And I'm still scratching my head about it. And hopefully, I think when September comes, we may see both Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall in that Oriole bullpen.
Well, and it sounds like that's what the plan is. It sounds like they're going to bring him back up for that type of role. I just when they use the words he's got to get his feet wet, all I could think, Mike, is like, well, why does it? If he's going to be used as a reliever, why does he have to get his feet wet as a starter? Like what? I don't understand that term. Yeah. He needed to get his feet wet. Like, why don't you just call him up when he's ready?
Absolutely. And why do you get your feet wet in the middle of a freaking playoff push?
Right.
It's just that this doesn't make a lot of sense to me,
Yeah.
or anybody. I think maybe some Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde, but I guess one good thing is now he's pitched, so he's got a little bit of experience at the major league level, which could bode well for him when he gets called back up in September.
Based on what you saw and what you've known and tracking him and following what he's done, there are scouts, there are people around baseball that genuinely believe that his stuff ultimately, given how wild he's capable of being, but how electric his stuff is, that think that really DL Hall is a high-leverage reliever. I talked to one last week who said, I honestly believe he's Josh Hader, which, of course, sounds good when you say it out loud, but obviously when you're the number 2 pitching prospect in an organization, if that's what you end up being, it's a bit of a disappointment because you're supposed to be a quality starter moving forward. Knowing what his stuff is, knowing kind of how effectively wild he's been, do you have any concerns about whether DL Hall really is a top-of-the-rotation type of major league starter?
Absolutely, and I'll also argue that he is not even close to a Josh Hader, more in line with a Tanner Scott.
Okay.
Power arm, that good, good breaking ball, but just erratic, inconsistent, and always really has been. He's going to be a high strikeout guy. But I will say this, if he comes in high leverage situations and he walks one batter, then what do you do? You know what I mean? So he's got to be able to harness his command. That's it, bottom line, because obviously his stuff will play. I mean, freaking nasty, power fastball, pretty good breaking ball, the changeup, which, I don't know, he fell in love with and looks like it could be his best pitch, really. I mean, great changeup to play off that big fastball. So he's got the stuff. Now it's just a matter of finding a way to get it in the zone, And I will say this, big league hitters, when guys know that a pitcher is, erratic, inconsistent, they won't expand. They'll wait for the mistake, up and out over, and then jump on the mistake. And he couldn't locate his fastball for anything. He was all over the place with his fastball. So, that's what the hope is, to find a way to harness that. The Orioles have worked incredible magic in that regard. Think about Perez. Think about Batista. Both guys all over the place with could not harness anything. And boom, now all of a sudden they're arguably the 2 best young pitchers in baseball. So,
no doubt.
Yeah. So let's see. Hope that the Orioles can work their magic with DL Hall as well.
Mike, the other thing that really seems to be puzzling, and I don't want it to be all complaints because, again, the Orioles are a game and a half out of a playoff spot. We're in one of the most magical runs we've ever seen in Baltimore baseball history. So I don't want this to be too negative, right? But I'll get one more gripe out that it seems like I'm not alone. Anytime Brett Phillips gets an at-bat for the Baltimore Orioles, I find myself saying, what in the hell are we doing here? And he comes off as a super nice guy, and I don't want to be too disparaging of a human being, but it's abundantly clear he can't be a major league hitter. Like, we have too much evidence at this point that the guy isn't a major league hitter. What's going on? Kyle Stowers is waiting, and I know you want him to play every day, but I would like to think that with the DH spot now open, you could move guys around to get him regular at-bats if he came up. What is your reaction, and how do you make sense of Brett Phillips, being in the starting lineup yesterday for the Baltimore Orioles, to your point, in the midst of a playoff race?
Well, that might be the only argument. In the midst of a playoff race, he's been there. He helped, the Rays make it to the World Series. He's a high-energy guy. Other than that, if there's one place that the Orioles have great depth, is their outfield. McKenna has really kind of found himself at the major league level, his role. You mentioned Stowers in the minor leagues. There's a couple more outfielders in the minor leagues that could potentially, come up and help. They've arguably got the best defensive outfield in baseball right now, with Mullins and Hayes out there roaming around. Santander's having a career year. So, that's a little bit of a head scratcher. Other than the energy he brings is definitely in top. Everybody gets it, and I think that might be something that, who knows, may help the Orioles through these dog days and help them kind of get over the hump. But he's taking at bats away from Vavra. He's taking at bats away from McKenna, who I think has earned, that right to be in the Oriole lineup. So I guess in that regard, it's unfortunate, but definitely one of those moves where I think everybody is like, well, why did that happen? Why would they go out and get Phillips? But there again, we hopefully it'll work out, and there'll be a big reason, and hopefully we see Phillips doing the airplane out on Camden Yards to help get him into the postseason. Right.
Inevitably, of course, because I'm coming off as trashing Brett Phillips. This means that he's going to end up with the biggest hit of the season. Like, you just know that's the way it's going to go. So everybody yells at me about it. Mike Bordick is with us here on GCR. Mike, by the way, it's funny what you're saying, because I use sort of the same things when people start complaining about Rougned Odor. And I don't know, as I say, I don't think Rougned Odor has to be in the lineup every night. But you can see the impact that Rougned Odor has on this roster. You can see how these guys take their cues from this dude. It also so happens to be that as bad of a season as Rougned Odor is having, he ain't hitting 145. Like, he's still a lot better than Brett Phillips, and he clearly has come through with a lot of big hits, including the home run last week. But anytime someone complains about Rougned Odor, having a spot on the roster, that's where I step in and say, no, that's the one. I don't think he's part of any sort of long-term plans, but you can see the impact that guy has on the other 24 guys on this roster.
Well, no doubt about that. And Brandon Hyde has alluded to that many times this year, and not just because of the multiple big hits he's had. I think, what's he got, 11 or 12 home runs, and I think 6 of them have been huge home runs for the team. They'll put them ahead or help win ball games. So, his defense sometimes can leave you scratching your head. His base running at times can do the same. But Brandon Hyde talks more about his clubhouse presence, his veteran leadership, which I think, year in and year out, you just cannot underestimate the value of a veteran leader in a young team's clubhouse.
Yeah.
For years now, we've had players, and I always think, okay, they're not going to trade him because they love his veteran leadership. Look what he's done for so many young infielders, this and that. Well, they trade him away. Well, then they inevitably go out and find another veteran guy or two, like Jordan Lyles, for instance, who's, he is what he is. I know he's pitched pretty well for the Orioles, maybe better than everybody expected.
Yep.
But he's been a stabilizer in the clubhouse for so many of the young arms. And I think Odor is right there in that category. Really good veteran leader. And, who knows where the Orioles would be without his presence to keep guys cool, calm, and having fun in the clubhouse.
Has Jorge Mateo been good enough? It's absurd, right? Like, I think we're all having great joy watching this young man play baseball. But is it to the point where you've got to start figuring out, because we know there are infield prospects coming. Gunnar Henderson's going to be here. Jordan Westberg not far after that, and Joey Ortiz. There's Prada. There's a ton of them. But is he playing well enough? I know the average still for the season is not overwhelming, even after 5 hits on Friday night. But just what you see from him and all the other things he does, that you start have to think about, like, a plan for this guy to be part of things moving forward, because his skill set is just so unique.
He is incredible. He really is. And I don't care how good a kid is in the minor leagues, there is nobody better than him right now. And that's even in the big leagues. He is just a freak defender. He covers as much ground as I've ever seen. He has the ability to throw off balance. That one play he made the other night,
oh my God,
he cut across in front of Odor and glove flipped it all in one move.
Brilliant.
But unbelievable play. And you wonder, what the heck is he doing in foul territory now over by first base? He's a shortstop, for crying out loud. He's really been impressive. His bat has certainly picked up, and 5 hits, but he got another one in his first at bat the next night. So it was 6 in a row.
Yeah.
Broke up the no-hitter yesterday. He's having an outstanding second half offensively. I just don't see how anybody would think about moving him off shortstop right now, unless it's for a blockbuster trade. But how would you want to give up that kind of elite speed, that kind of glove at shortstop? Obviously, the bat is finally starting to come around. He's making great adjustments. And he, in my opinion, Gold Glove shortstop, one of the best, if not the best athletes in Major League Baseball right now. Unbelievable.
I'm far too old to put a poster on my wall, but Mike, I would want to put a Jorge Mateo poster on my wall. Like, he's just that exciting to watch as a baseball player. You're like, man, I'm going to turn the game on, because I don't know. You bring up the play the other night. Of course, the weekend before that, the insane double play on Saturday against the Pirates. Like, you just don't know what you're about to see the dude do next.
Yeah, and he's all over the place. When he gets on base, you're just anticipating a great stolen base. Always getting himself in a scoring position. If he's at second base, I don't care where the ball's hit, he's going to score. This blazing speed puts automatic pressure on opposing defenses, which, thank God it's starting to come back. And I think the Orioles have a handful of players that have that kind of speed to just put incredible amounts of pressure on defense. Cedric Mullins, Mateo, McKenna, Hayes, they all run really well.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, that goes a long way as well. So, we talk about the Oriole defense. We talk about their bullpen being so well. But the pressure they put on the base pass is also a great tool they've had for the success they've had at this point.
It's a really good point. Mike, I don't want to be over dramatic because teams lose 2 games. That happens, and it happens on the road sometimes, and you're playing against a good team, and it's remarkable the circumstances they're in. Do you worry at all about a team that's been playing, probably over their heads, really, given what their talent level is? And if that were to continue and they were to lose 2 out of 3 in Toronto, something like that, do you worry about adversity perhaps being what catches up with this team? That at some point, if they go through a stretch where they were to lose 5 of 6, something like that, that could be this team's downfall because ultimately they don't really have all of the talent to be able to overcome that, going the rest of the way.
Well, I think that they've been through so much as a team that they could give a crap.
Okay.
I think they have already established for themselves that they can compete with anybody. They've played very well against the American League East this year. They've won a ton of games. They were, 8-8 against Tampa up until that last series. But, so I think they truly believe in what they have. And I think a lot of times just the team chemistry can overcome a lot of deficiencies possibly, by a team. And I think they're riding on a lot of team chemistry. I think they're playing the game very well on both sides of the ball. I think they have some clutch hitters. I am a little concerned about Mountcastle's hand. He started coming back and then boom, his hand gets hit. But I just think they have a lot of great weapons. The one thing that could possibly falter for this team, and I know the starting pitching's been a little bit suspect lately, but the bullpen, their innings are just so high. So that's when you hope that maybe DL Hall can make an adjustment and throw out of the pen. Grace Rodriguez might be able to come up to really give them a boost at the end of the season. But listen, they've been through so much. So many of these players on this team, they lost 110 games last year. They lost 105 the year before. So they've battled through, and they've all of a sudden they've come up and they feel like, hey, we're good enough. We can compete if we do the right things. If we execute and play good defense, we have a chance to beat anybody in the game. So I think they really do believe in themselves, and I hope they hold on, because there haven't been but a handful of games where they've been blown out and you think, oh, this is a bad team. They are in just about every game they play. Really,
that's a great point. It's a really good point. And maybe the adversity just doesn't register with them. Maybe there's like a naivety to it, right? Like we don't know that we're supposed to crumble in these moments. We're not.
There you go.
I know we've reached. This is Mike. I almost feel like we have to dedicate 5 minutes to the plugs portion of this, because Baseball Warehouse, League of Dreams. The show. I know you're involved with Alloy. Let's do the whole rundown of what we can plug for you, my friends.
Well, we just got through a very successful summer of baseball clinics with the Baseball Warehouse. It was a lot of fun. We went up to Pennsylvania, did some barnstorming up there with some clinics, worked with a lot of awesome baseball kids this summer. Looking forward to some lessons this winter with the Baseball Warehouse. The League of Dreams continues to do just amazing work. We're in hopes of really expanding. We've got a lot of great dreams on the horizon that we're hoping we can work with many more kids and make more of an impact in our communities. Alloy Sports continues to grow and be strong. I'm really excited to be a part of that, because the NFL is right around the corner, man. When the NFL comes, Alloy Sports is going to have another grand opening, if you will, and have another launch. So we're excited that more and more people are going to be involved with that as well. So a lot of good things happening, and just great to be a part of so many wonderful opportunities and great people to work with.
And, of course, Baltimore baseball tonight on 105.7 The Fan. At M. Bordick on Twitter is how you follow him. Mike Bordick, always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me.
It's Mike Bordick checking in with us and backing up a lot of the things that we were talking about. Like, he's just as confused as we are about what all that was. And, again, that doesn't mean that it dooms. I want to be careful in what we're saying. It's okay to say this doesn't make sense. It's okay to say this is confusing. It's okay to say it didn't really seem to work, because it didn't seem to work. But we can't go too far with that. When we start projecting that and, like, this is disastrous, or this is proof that the organization doesn't know what it's doing, or something along those lines, that's where it becomes unfair. This doesn't make sense, and no one can make sense of it to me. But that doesn't mean it's going to ruin DL Hall. It doesn't mean it's going to ruin the Orioles. It doesn't mean it's going to ruin, the trust they have in Brandon Hyde or in Mike. It doesn't mean any of those things. It's confusing. It's confusing. That's it.
Yeah, and it was one game. And if he would have gone out there and thrown 6 innings, given up 1 run, and we won the game, we're probably in here talking about how exciting it is and how he's going to be a piece down the stretch.
Even if that was the case, though, I still feel like if they had said afterwards, yes, but we're sending him right back down.
Right. Yeah, then it was.
We would still be confused, and that's the point. I'm just confused by it. I'm confused by why you needed to do it. And,
it was weird.
Yeah, and all of that. And you can't. Right now, Mike Elias could come over, sit down next to me, hold my hand and walk me through all of it, and I'd still probably end up walking away like, yeah, but I don't think you had to. I just don't think you had to do it that way. And that's an opinion. I don't have any fact to back it up with, other than the way you did it didn't work on Saturday, right? That's the only thing I have going for me with the bully pulpit. I don't think it's the end of the world, and I think we have to be careful. It's okay to criticize certain things, or to second guess, or to, be confused about them. It doesn't mean that I think that there is some sort of internal disaster. It was brought up yesterday when we were doing the show on The Fan. It's weird that they did this in the same year that they had a very weird way of going about bringing up Adley Rutschman. And what it would project is maybe an awkwardness between, organization, leadership, front office, management on field, that there isn't a concerted effort between everyone to let's make sure we get this right. With Adley Rutschman, it was, why in the F are you bringing him up to make a debut on Preakness Day with, 6 hours advance notice? That the leadership in the organization should be the one saying, hey, we'd like to create ourselves a big event. It would be nice if you would work with us in that and help us out a little bit. Somebody brought up to me over the weekend, hey, aren't you the one that's always critical of them doing this with a prospect on the road? Well, I've said before, that's outweighed when you're in a playoff race. When the Adley Rutschman thing happened, and I said, you better not bring him up on the road, in no world did I think the Orioles were ever going to be involved in a playoff race this season. It was going to be a throwaway season, so you damn well better bring him up at home and get that electric feeling for a home game. But if you're doing it in the name of competition, if you're calling someone up in the name of, hey, we want to win a game and we think this guy gives us the best chance to do it, and the games are all really important and we need a starter on Saturday, which, again, we don't think they did. They literally pitched Spencer Watkins in the same game. They didn't need a starter. But if you're still doing it in the name of competition, I can forgive that. I don't think that that's not embarrassing to call a prospect up when you're doing it to try to win. But were you doing it to try to win? If you were, I would have thought that Adley Rutschman would be behind the plate. I would think that Cedric Mullins would be in the, that's why it's all so confusing. I'm not quite as critical because I get it. DL Hall isn't Adley Rutschman. You only get one Adley Rutschman. You only get to do that once. There's no way of getting around it. That was a failure. That was a massive blunder from this organization from top down. Now Adley Rutschman has looked the part and appears to be the rock star we all thought he was going to be, and that's more important than the circumstances by which he made his debut. It was more important that Adley Rutschman become the player that everybody needs him to be. But it's just a lot of confusing. It's just a lot. There's so much confusing here. Like, what is the thought process? And again, I couldn't help but think about it. Like, anytime Brett Phillips is in the lineup, I do have those feelings come back. Like, really? You couldn't have Trey Mancini out there? Like, really? Really? I struggle with it. And again, I'm the guy that said I think you did better in a Trey Mancini trade than I could have reasonably expected you to do, but still, I'm going to have those emotions. You're putting Brett Phillips in your lineup. He's a career sub-200 hitter. He's not a guy having a bad season. He's never been good. Again, I hate this because he just seems like a really great guy. But, like, I know good guys. I know plenty of them. Jeremy Conn's a good guy. I don't want him batting in the 8th spot for the Baltimore Orioles.
At least they got Grayson Rodriguez up there to see DL's debut.
I mean, cool. I mean, like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a neat thing that Grayson was able to be there to watch his buddy pitch, but like...
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can have the hindsight that we have with the Adley Rutschman debut and be like, that was weird, but we're here now.
By the midway point of next season, we're all like, look, DL Hall's a star.
But just such odd circumstances.
Weird, man. I keep saying that word because I can't shake it. It's so weird. Like, I keep trying to think of... I'm trying to do the bit where, like, when I see what everybody else is complaining about on the internet, can I be the voice of reason? And I can't. I cannot find... Well, I'll let Jeremy attempt. I mean, I'll give him a shot. Like, I'm so lost. I'm so lost by what the thought process is in relation to what you were doing here. Again, hopefully not a big deal. Hopefully in a couple weeks he's back up. He's helping out in the bullpen. To Mike Bordick's point, perhaps you have some arms that are getting tired. Keegan Aiken has looked like someone who's maybe, been impacted by the number of innings that he's thrown this season, although that's a little bit odd considering he was a starter. I don't know. It's just weird, dude. Weird.
Indeed.
Weird. All right. Today's show brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino in Otoe. Hey, how'd your bet go?
My gratuitous
the Dominic Cruz.
That so unfortunately, I mean Cheeto won, but he got a knockout in the 4th round.
And what was
I needed him to win a decision.
That's right. You had to go.
So I probably should have just done the same thing I did with Nunez, where get him to win 4 or 5 or decision.
Now the question becomes:
I did have another bet hit that.
But it wasn't the one.
It wasn't the one I gave out.
That doesn't help us.
When
you tell other people to bet with you, those are the ones that need to hit.
Like, I have proof.
But in private, I won a lot of bets. That doesn't help anybody, Griffin. Are you planning on giving that money to our listeners and our viewers?
Well, no.
No. You can't split Tess 11 ways.
I'll hit on this week.
11.
This week's is going to be great. I mean, I can't wait.
This is a big fight this week, right?
It is, yeah.
What is this? This is
Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards.
Rematch
from 2015, I think.
This is Saturday night.
This is Saturday night.
UFC 278. You can watch it in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel and bet on every fight with lots of props available. 61 self-service kiosks. I keep trying to tell you this whenever UFC fights come around. You order the fight at home, it's costing you, Griffin, you said it's $75?
It is $75. The price has gone up.
Once upon a time,
it
was $50 because I ordered a few fights in my day. Yeah. I ordered, I'm kind of embarrassed by how many Brock Lesnar fights I ordered in my life. $75 now to order a pay-per-view. So you want to do that. That's how you want to spend your Saturday night. You're also going to, you're still going to spend money on food. You're still going to order wings or pizza or whatever it's going to be. You're going to beg your friends to come over and then split the cost, and then they're going to dip over and they're going to bring like a 2-liter of soda, and then they're going to never give you any cash. Be like, oh, dude, sorry, I don't have any cash, or just kind of avoid the subject the entire time. Like assume that you were buying the fight for them and just doing it out of kindness, and you're like, hey, man, thanks. Like, it would be nice if you slipped me a couple of bucks, and they're not going to do that. You're going to be very frustrated if that ends up being the way your night goes. Or you can watch the fights for free, win some money betting on the fights, and that could pay for all the delicious food that you get while you're at Sports and Social and the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel on Saturday night. Always big crowds, and this is a huge fight, so there's going to be a massive crowd in the FanDuel Sportsbook for this one. So you want to go ahead and reserve your spot right now by emailing events@sportssocialmd.com. That's events@sportssocialmd.com to reserve your spot right now for UFC 278. Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards Saturday night in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Come back in. Jeremy Conn, 105.7 The Fan. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Swagger is a daily fantasy sports site created for sports fans who want some skin in the game and a real shot at winning. Forget plus-minus odds, Swagger uses points for a better way to understand probabilities. If you're tired of losing because of one bad pick, with Swagger, you don't need to be perfect to win. You just create a lineup of 4 to 10 simple player props and score points for the ones you get right. So you can be half right and all right with Swagger. Swagger offers the most player props and biggest payouts of any DFS site, as much as 50 times your buy-in. Plus, you can play all the major pro sports, including your favorite local teams. If you're ready to play, visit playwithswagger.com/pressbox to sign up, and Swagger will give you $10 free to try them out. Plus, they'll match your first deposit 100% up to $100. It's free money to play with Swagger. Swagger, daily fantasy for all fankind. Playwithswagger.com/pressbox.
These are the final days for you to pick up the very special Salute to Coaches issue of Press Box, with John Harbaugh on the cover and 8 other area high school, college, and pro coaches recognized inside, with amazing stories told by the athletes whose lives they've impacted the most. You can find the Salute to Coaches issue for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read every Press Box print issue at PressBoxOnline.com. And coming soon, our football preview issue, which features Ravens tight end Mark Andrews on the cover and profiles of players from Maryland, Navy, Towson, and Morgan State.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Visit Howard County presents the 2022 Major League Quidditch Championship, a Harry Potter-inspired, real-life, full-contact, mixed-gender, 12-team Quidditch tournament happening at Troy Park in Elkridge, August 20th through the 22nd. For tickets and more information, go to visithowardcounty.com. Maryland, be open for it.
Don't forget that full episodes of the show are available for free on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. But warning, you get what you pay for. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR. It is a Monday edition of the program. Orioles get back in action tonight as they head up to Toronto to start a 3-game set against the Blue Jays. Of course, this weekend is the Sunday night game, the game up in Williamsport against the Red Sox, which is a cool thing and kind of maybe breaks up some of the monotony of baseball season. I am very much in favor of more of these types of events throughout the course of the year that just do a little bit to break up the monotony of a 162-game season. We'll talk about that more as the week goes on. It's Monday. That means Jeremy Conn, 105.7 The Fan, Big Bad Morning Show, and his picks every day at PressBoxOnline.com is with us. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's up, man? Things are good.
Can I ask you for are you coming out on Saturday, by the way?
Saturday, I have. What do I have? I have something else that's coinciding, but I'm trying to double dip and make.
You're trying to do the bit where Corey Matthews was both at Topanga's 16th birthday and Vader's big wrestling match at the arena at the same time.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm begging you to not bring any Malort if you do. I know that it's going to fall on deaf ears. I know how the day is going to go, but I'm going to beg you anyway. Please do not bring any Malort. I don't want to die on Saturday.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Sounds like a plan, man.
He's gonna be there. He's gonna do it anyway. Who am I kidding? All right, let's. I got a few things for you before we get into the sports stuff. So Reed and I had some fun with this, and if you don't have one off the top of your head, but you're willing to think about it, I'd like to set it up. If you know one right off the top of your head, we can just go with it. So the Fernando Tatis thing is a top 10 funny thing that's ever happened once you realize what he did, right? Like once you realize that somebody in his camp said, "Oh, that's what he tested positive for? I'm pretty sure that's the same thing that you use to cure ringworm, so let's just make up a story that he had ringworm and that's what it is," until all of the smart people came out and said, "No, it sounds like the name of the drug that you use for ringworm. They're actually very much two different things." So they went through this elaborate process of putting out this excuse, which a lot of people didn't buy anyway, but at least some people kind of did. And then we found out within hours it's utterly farcical because it's literally a different drug than the one that he tested positive for. And it got me thinking about the funniest lies that I've ever been caught telling over the years. And the one that I shared yesterday, Jeremy, is I was once, after my sophomore year of college, I was talking to a girl. I'll say her name is Carrie from home. And I was headed down to the beach with the boys for the week. And I said, "Why don't you come join us at the beach?" And she said, "Great. I got to work during the week, but I'll meet you guys down there on Thursday." And I said, "Cool." And then when I got to the beach, I met another young lady. And I was
very nice.
I was spending the week with her. And, there were sleepovers involved and things like that, right? So I didn't think it was a good idea for Carrie to come visit because even if, I tried to push this other girl off, there might be someone saying, "Hey, weren't you just hanging out with," I was just worried about that. So I called Carrie and said, "Oh, I'm very sick. I'm very sick. I'm doing the voice and everything. I'm having my boy in the background be like, 'Oh, dude, it's bad. He's got to go.'" And I'm telling her, "I'm going home. Don't come to the beach. I'm going home. I probably need a couple days to feel better, and then I'll call you, and we can get together, all right?" She had already made plans for the weekend, so what she did was she just told her mom and sister, "Why don't we go down to the beach for a couple days?" And literally that night, I am walking the boardwalk, and I swear to God, I hear, "What the hell?" And she sees me at the beach. And it's just an insanely dumb lie that I had told that I'm trying to, I'm literally, the wheels are turning. I felt better. I was going to call you and tell you could come down tomorrow. That it was just insane. The stupidity of the lie that I told that I got caught telling. So
I guess you just have to eat it at that point, right?
There's nothing. I wasn't ready to tell her about the other girl. I wasn't going to do that. Yeah. But she didn't care. She wasn't even she was so infuriated that she and her mom and sister just basically stormed off, and I did not speak to her for some time. The ironic part about the story
is, you married Carrie almost 10 years ago.
Actually, we did end up literally a summer later. We actually ended up dating for the summer. It's a real thing. But do you have a hilarious lie story that you've told that you can think of off the top of your head, or do you want me to just start going and then maybe you can come back?
No. As soon as you brought it up, so it's a lie in a different way though. So when I was in what grade was I in? I was in 6th grade. And I got off the bus, and I was always an A and B student, every single. And I ended up getting a D. I was put into gifted and talented math classes, and my first time going through it, I got a D in the second quarter in 6th grade. So I was taking algebra in 6th grade, and my idea was, this is bulletproof. I get the report card. Why don't I just change the D to a B, and my dumb dad will never notice.
Oh, Jeremy.
And so in black, by the way, it was black ink that was on the report card, and I changed it to a B in blue.
Oh.
So I caught the worst ass whooping I ever had from my parent. My dad said, "I'm not even mad that you got a D. I'm so mad at you for thinking I was so stupid to believe that a blue B would show." Yeah.
Correct. So, that's the part. How dumb are you?
Yeah. And by the way, I tell this story, and this is the God's honest truth. I got beat so bad with a shoe that day that I had the Nike swoosh across my ass cheek. It's still the worst beating I've ever taken in my life.
Oh, my God. All right, that's good. That is a very dumb lie. That is an extraordinarily dumb – that is a Fernando Tatis level lie.
And then there was also one time where my buddy at my house knocked over my mom's favorite statue. And then we went off to find One-Eyed Willie's gold.
Right.
And
right.
the Fratellis were chasing us.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that story. I had a situation with Dong in my automobile one time.
Dong.
Where is my automobile? God. All right, good stuff. Okay, so we're trying to make sense of the DL Hall thing. And I don't like just being the guy that piles on the internet. Like, there's a groupthink thought, and I like to try to think it through a little bit and try to make sense of it and say, all right, let's think about it this way. But I got to be honest with you, dude, I have not come up with it. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's proof that the Orioles are incompetent. I think that ultimately DL Hall might come up and be just fine, right? But I can't get over how weird all of this is. I can't get over how weird it is to say, well, we need to get his feet wet, but specifically as a starter on the road in a really big game where Adley Rutschman isn't going to be catching and Cedric Mullins isn't going to be in the lineup, just to send him back down to be a reliever in a couple of weeks. Like, why couldn't they have just made the adjustment to him being a reliever in the minor leagues, which it appeared for a little while as they were doing, as he was only pitching for about an inning for a couple of outings, and then call him up when he's ready to help the team? I can't make sense of it no matter how hard I try.
Yeah, like I remember Scott and I used to have this bit where we talk about the starting pitcher who can never win, he can only lose, and that was Tanner Scott when the Orioles were trying to stretch him out in the minors, and he would pitch the first 3 innings. And the joke of it is you have to go 5 innings to be qualified for a start. So literally the only thing he could do is lose. So, we had some fun with that. Like when you put it in that type of, like, I don't have an issue with them calling DL Hall up to pitch. Like some people are upset, like, hey, we're in the middle of a pennant race and this, but we're in the middle of trying to make the playoffs, I should say. You're trying to make the playoffs and you call this guy up. I don't think there's anybody in this rotation that I go, oh my God, DL Hall has no business starting a game over them. So I had no problem with him being called up. But I agree with you with, like, I don't understand we're sending him back down now to go get used to pitching in relief. Like, I don't know. It's just, like, that's something you could have done ahead of time.
Right.
The Adley Rutschman thing, I think, like, so if it were my team and I was doing it, I'd want Rutschman to catch. But I also think, at the same extent, trying to make this guy as comfortable as possible, I don't think you have to go out of your way to do it. But it did seem kind of weird after the fact with him being sent back down. That just kind of, I didn't understand what they were doing in that whole process.
I am beyond confused by it. And again, there's a limit to that, because I feel like whenever this happens, people take it to the next step. And I don't think there's a next step to this. I think it's weird. And then if he comes back up in a couple of weeks and is a helpful piece out of the bullpen, all it ever is weird. It's just one of those. Hey, remember how weird that was, what they did with him that day? Like, that's,
like if they skip Spencer Watkins in the rotation, like, to me, that's not the end of the world.
No, it's definitely not the end of the world. But I guess you didn't need to do it. Like, Spencer Watkins was available to pitch that day, and he actually had pitched quite well in his last start before that. The weird part is he had a couple of bad starts before that. So if you had done this, like, last Friday, it would have made a bit more sense because he hadn't pitched well. But then he was great in his last start against the Pirates. So I don't know. I just keep sort of being befuddled by the whole thing where I'm like, I think it's going to be okay, but man, this is a strange thing to have had happen over the course of the weekend. Where are you with DL Hall in general? Where, I was just telling, we put J.J. Cooper on from Baseball America last week because, Gunnar became their number 1 prospect. And he was like, dude, if I'm being honest, DL Hall to me is Josh Hader. Like, he's got electric stuff, but the idea that he's going to suddenly get control of it all now at the major leagues to become a top-notch starter, I'm not seeing that. I think he's a guy that could be really great for 1 inning. Like, that's what I think he is. And he's not alone. There are more and more people talking about, like, we keep convincing ourselves that his stuff is so good that he's got to be able to harness it. But we only really see it for stretches. Like, we see a couple of starts where he's, literally unhittable, and then after that, it kind of goes away. Where are you with DL Hall on the whole?
Yeah, it's funny that, well, on the whole, no. It's funny that, when you talk about DL Hall, and you mentioned Josh Hader because that's who Rob's been comparing him to all along, saying that he feels like he's going to grade out that way and ultimately be a prize piece in the bullpen. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hell, the Orioles have had plenty of those guys. Whether you want to talk about Mattis, Britton, that we expected to be starters, and they end up being failed starters, but turned into pretty good bullpen arms. So if that's the route they're taking, I mean, I think it's better to realize it sooner than later. And it doesn't mean you can't go back to him being a starter if you feel like that's something you want to try again and kick the tires on it. But right now, why not try him in the bullpen and see if that's something, and you can shorten these games. Like there was a big article that was put out, I want to say it was by the Score, on the Wall being moved back and like the next level thinking that the front office had. And I thought it was really well done. And making the games like lower scoring games, so you're in it more when you have a lower payroll and less talent overall, and that it could lead to more wins. Nobody thought it would lead to this season that they're having. I mean, this is ridiculous, and that's why I said if they lose every game the rest of the way, this has still been a successful season in my mind. I don't envision that happening, but yeah, with Hall, I ultimately I think he ends up as a bullpen guy. I had some guys this weekend at a charity softball tournament I played in. They were like, "Hey, what do you think of Dale Hall?" And I said, "Well, you watch tonight. He's going to strike out a couple of guys, and there's times you're going to watch him going a little wild, a little off the plate. Kind of, is he nibbling, or is that the makeup of him?" And I think we got to see a good bit of both sides of that, where you see the power arm and you saw the struggles controlling it and keeping it in the strike zone.
Jeremy Conn is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Jeremy, to your point, I don't like. The Orioles lost 2 games in Tampa against a good team. Like, that's going to happen. To good teams, it's going to happen, right? So I'm not trying to be too negative, but I did admittedly, after the overwhelming emotion that I felt on Friday night, on Friday night, I was ready. I mean, I was running through walls on Friday night. It was the best offensive performance of the season. Jorge Mateo is the greatest thing to happen to shortstops since Ozzie Smith. I'm just in love. And then, so it was a bit of a gut punch the next couple days. And then I couldn't help it yesterday as I'm looking up at the TV, and obviously, thank God they didn't get, perfect gamed. But anytime I see Brett Phillips on a baseball field, I can't help myself. I literally get angry. And I hate that because he comes off as this really great guy. But as I said before, I think you're a good guy, and I sure as hell don't want you on a baseball field. Wearing, no offense,
that's a little unfair.
I know, and not wearing an Orioles uniform. You could, do whatever else you want to do on a baseball field. I'm so befuddled. I hate making the comparison to Major League, but it really does feel like you guys are playing too well. We have to make it more difficult for you. Brett Phillips is not a Major League Baseball player. Why are we still doing this bit? What?
See, when I brought up, I said to the guys, because I was the only one that said it doesn't bother me that they traded for Brett Phillips as a lefty bat and a defensive replacement, and there'll probably be some flipping between he and McKenna in situations, righty-lefty, when guys are getting days off. It doesn't bother me. They talk about him being a great clubhouse guy, all those things, but I said it was akin to arguing about the napkin setting at a really nice dinner, because to me, that trade means nothing. He's not playing every day. He's going to play, he's going to be on your bench primarily. But I get it. You look at his batting average and you go, what is this about? And he's a solid defensive player, left-handed bat, but he really doesn't have, to me, he reminds me a little bit of Ryan Flaherty. Not that, Flaherty played multiple positions, but you're talking about an outfielder that's good defensively. It doesn't bring much stick. He runs into one every once in a while, and then that's supposed to make you happy. Although we haven't seen him run into one.
That's the part. I could justify, even if he was a 220 hitter, I could say, all right, he plays some defense. He's not out there. He can't hit at all, at all. He's hitting 145, and it's not like it's that far off. It's not like he's having a historically bad season. He's a career 180 hitter.
Can I give you the grading system that one emailer sent us when we were arguing about Jorge Mateo?
Okay.
He said when we compared Jorge Mateo and Trey Mancini, he said, look, if you give Mateo 2 more hits a week, he's right in line with Mancini.
That's correct.
So if you give Brett Phillips 2 more hits
a great
a week,
point.
He's right in line with the rest of the outfield.
That's a great point. That's a great point. If you just keep giving him more hits during the course of the season.
If you give him 2 more hits every week.
Yeah, he'd be a better hitter at that point. You do make a good point. Man, what was that guy's name? Yeah. Might be on to
we
something.
had one guy that was one of the guys on the show was bitching about Brett Phillips, and I said, man, he just hit a double. He went 1 for 4, and his average went up. He goes, that's the problem. He went 1 for 4, and his average went up.
Well, there's a few guys that would on 1 for 4, their average would go up. He could go 1 for 7 at this point, and his average might go up.
By the way, Mateo's one of those guys that could, because I said, this is the other thing. I didn't get to talk about it this much in the morning show, but when it was released that Carlos Correa might opt out at the end of the year, he's going to.
Yeah.
I said, I think the Orioles sign him if he does. And then all the Mateo fans came out the woodwork, and I said, man, you guys, if we had done everything that you'd love, we'd still have Jose Iglesias and Hanser Alberto playing the middle infield because you fall in love with guys that are just okay.
Okay,
and
so
maybe
this is
Mateo ends up being better than
this
that.
is great. This is a great conversation to have because I'm starting to move my emotions towards where they are. I'm starting to. I'm not there. Like I'm not like on. But we were just talking about this with Bordick a second ago. What he does, and I'm not trying to take anything. Iglesias was a fine defender with some pop. Like this dude is playing the position in a way we haven't seen someone in Baltimore play the position. I mean, since I don't know when. Maybe since Louis Aparicio. Like Bordick was a good defensive shortstop. Some of these other guys were good. Cal Ripken was a good defensive shortstop. But this guy is doing things. That play on Friday night. The level of baseball IQ involved in making that play on Friday night is something it's almost impossible to define. Ben McDonald was struggling to define just how brilliant that play was on Friday night. He's doing things we haven't seen other guys do. Look, if he's going to be a 230 hitter, you're right? Like, if for his career, all Jorge Mateo can be is a 230 hitter, it doesn't matter how many bases he can steal. He can't really be the everyday player for a good team. Like, he can't be that guy. But if what we've seen in the second half is the bat starting to come around. And remember, he was scouted as a guy that could hit better. If that's what we're seeing, I might end up falling in line with maybe I'm not in a rush to upgrade there, that maybe the upgrade has to come somewhere else. And I get it. There is a danger of falling in love with a lot of guys who are good but not great. And that is probably one of the things that the Orioles are dealing with right now, where players are playing well enough that you can't just move on from them without people being upset, but they're not so good that you can start putting together a World Series caliber roster with Austin Hayes and Jorge Mateo and Terrin Vavra. And like, they're guys we like, but they're not necessarily special. But, man, dude, I don't know. God.
Look, I was in the Mateo fan club before everyone else was because I loved him in the minor leagues in that fantasy baseball league I was in with Garceau and Stan the Fan and everyone that's so in depth that you're drafting minor league players. And I think Jorge Mateo was on my roster until he got traded to the Padres. But I love the speed. And, you know, the old adage, you can't steal first. If he's hitting, great, it's fine. But, like, in no world am I going to compare him. Like, if I had a chance to get – now, look, it's cost versus production too. Like, if it's going to cost me $200 and some million to go get a guy like Correa and you look at what you have Mateo for, I understand that totally. But people were saying, no, they can't spend on a shortstop. They got to spend on pitching. Yeah, by the way, they have a lot of money to spend because they have the lowest payroll in baseball. And there's not a lot of great pitchers that are going to be on the market this year, which is one of the reasons why there were rumors about them trading for pitchers that are under control. Like, would they make that move for a guy that you get him for 2 years and then a chance to sign him? So, like, Carlos Rodon will be out there, and he's an interesting one. But he faded last year towards the end of the year just a little bit, and then this year he's looked really good again. Bringing him to the AL East. Is that a guy you're interested in? Clayton Kershaw at the back end of his career. I mean, there are other names that will pop up, but there's not a lot of great names where everybody's going to be in on starting pitching, so now you're competing against everyone else. So I do think the Orioles will spend money in other ways. And, look, Mateo can still have a place on this team as a rotational piece, or if you wanted to move him to second or whatever, if they, in fact, do that. But if there were rumors that they were in on Carlos Correa last year,
right.
then why wouldn't they be in on him this year if they're better?
But is Correa really worth the mega deal that you assume he's again going to be looking for? Has his actual performance justified mega contract for Carlos Correa?
I think it did going into last year, but I think this is one of the worst years he's had. I mean, look, he hasn't stayed healthy, and that's obviously a concern anytime you're signing anyone. But on the flip side too, when you look at Correa, like when people are comparing Mateo, arguably his best year, to Mateo or to Correa having not his greatest year, I'm still going to take Correa. I think he's a great defensive shortstop, and then there's pop in the bat. When you can get the home run ability from the middle of the infield, now you're talking about that's plus, because typically you want it from the corners or your outfield, and then it allows you to do a lot of different things. But who knows what the Orioles are going to do? They've stated they're going to spend money, but if they were interested in Correa last year, the thing I keep going back to is that I fully expect them to be interested this year as well.
I'm with you, and I too also expect them to be in on it. I don't know, man. Like I hate being that guy because I'm the guy that wants them to spend money. Like and Mike Elias is doing interviews and saying they're going to spend money this offseason. I want them to, but
I am starting to kind of talk myself out of the idea of like that because I just think Correa's he's looking for $200+ million, and I also get nervous about what that does. If this team does that for one guy, this was the problem going back. This goes back to the Chris Davis thing, right? I had no problem with them spending the money on Chris Davis. None of us could see how bad it was going to be. Even the people that thought it was a mistake had no idea it was going to be that, right? But at the time I said, I'm on board with doing this as long as this isn't the only money that you're spending. As long as you don't think that signing Chris Davis means you've done what you need to do for the years to come. And if this means you're not signing Manny Machado, then you definitely don't do this. This is insane to do. And I guess that's what I worry. Until I see them willing to spend big money on multiple guys and go that route, what I really worry about is if they are in on Correa, that's them saying, well, that's the money we're going to spend. It's the guys we have plus Carlos Correa. Let's see if we can make it work. And that's not going to work.
Yeah, and just so you know, I'm always in for spending money on multiple guys.
Right, I know. By the way, how do you feel about Griffin, do you have the sound clip? How do you feel about guys coming in your face?
Well, I mean, yeah, we played that clip this morning, too.
You have to like when there's a guy coming right in your face and he just sits in there and delivers it really well.
Yeah, I got to love that. That's my favorite part.
Did you hear the Cameron Maben one about him?
No.
I've rubbed a lot of balls in my day.
Yeah. Oh, I heard about it. I do know about that one, actually. But do you have it as well, Griffin? All right, go ahead, Griffin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've rubbed up quite a few balls in my life.
And there's just 20 seconds
of
silence.
The lengthy balls. Yeah. But, yeah, we have to see it in the offseason if the Orioles are going to be in on it, and I'm sure they're going to spend money wisely. I'm well past the point of it doesn't mean you can't question the front office, but I'm going to lean on them because I feel like a lot of the moves they've made were correct. And just going back to the Correa stuff, which I found interesting, is everybody's like, well, what about our minor league? What do you think about Gunnar? Well, all we've heard is that Gunnar might end up being a third baseman at the majors.
Right.
I had someone bring up Jackson Holiday to me. You can't block him. How are you?
Right. How many years?
Got drafted
correct.
out of high school.
Correct.
Yeah. So,
correct. I'm with you
Cool.
there. All right, buddy. What's coming up on the Big Bad Morning Show this week?
Well, we're all together again. So, actually, Rob goes on vacation Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, Ed and I was just going to say, we're finally all back together again.
Nope, not the case.
No, we'll be talking Ravens, Orioles, obviously the series with the Blue Jays. It looks almost exactly like the series when they came to town here in Baltimore with some of the pitching matchups. So, it should be fun.
All right. Hopefully, I will see you on Saturday. Appreciate you, pal. Love you. We'll talk to you next Monday, all right?
Sounds good, man.
Jeremy Conn at Jeremy Conn 1057 on Twitter. Of course, his picks every day at PressBoxOnline.com as well. Yeah, poor Anthony Munoz doing the games. It's a Hall of Famer that likes having guys come in his face. It's got to be an honor for those guys. It's a Hall of Famer saying that. It's got to be in the world. It's tremendous. By the way, I meant to bring this up on the radio show yesterday. The terrifying part as a broadcaster is that you're in a moment and you just don't catch what it is that you're saying. Like Jeremy was laughing about me saying on the whole. That's not even a particularly that wouldn't get a whole lot of traction. You worry about is that you're describing something in an athletic event and you don't even notice what it is that you're saying, and somebody else does. And when they do, that's what you're associated with for the rest of your life. You're the guy that said that. Now, Anthony Munoz has a few things to fall back on in his life. He's accomplished a thing or two. Believe it or not, I did not have a Hall of Fame career as an offensive tackle to fall back on. So if I'm the guy that said something like that, that would be it. That would be the only thing I would be associated with for the rest of my life. That's who I would be. Simply the Bets returns tomorrow, as we will help you get ready for a weekend of betting, or a full week of betting. We do it every Tuesday morning at 11:40 a.m., brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Also this week, we will have Weekend at Bookies on Thursday morning to get you ready. I assume we will make some more Ravens preseason bets, although this is the furthest they've traveled. This is
good point.
This is not something that we've dealt with,
and there's less incentive to watch it too with the Orioles playing at the same time.
That doesn't really impact whether they're going to win or not. There's definitely less incentive to watch it, but I didn't watch the first one, so
you should have. But
no, I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I never should. But I'm saying, and trying to in going along with the fact they always win every preseason game, they've never had to go to Arizona before. That's never been on the table.
Everyone knows Arizona's a really tough place
to play in the preseason.
Yeah.
Everyone does say that. You get their best. That's when you get their best. We'll talk about it. Simply the Bets and Weekend at Bookies coming up on Tuesday and Thursday at 11:40 a.m. respectively. Now, Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of PressBox. Final days. Literally, this is the end of the line for the Salute to Coaches issue. Today, tomorrow, then it's gone. Gone, daddy, gone. The love is gone. Wednesday, we got a new print issue of PressBox hitting newsstands with Mark Andrews on the cover as we celebrate the start of football season. We've done this a couple times. We've tried to put someone on the cover who has elevated themselves into the world of NFL stardom. Last year, it was Marlon Humphrey. So we're worried a little bit that ended up being a bit of a curse because Marlon Humphrey probably had his worst year. So we're hoping that's not the case with Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is on the cover. Great story from Bo Smolka about his path. Did not commit to it being full-time football until far later in his high school career than most guys do. Obviously his battle with diabetes, all of those things. Great story about Mark Andrews' path. He was not, a first, second-round draft pick. He wasn't even the first tight end the Ravens took that year, and yet here, look where we are with Mark Andrews elevating himself to being a true superstar in this league. So it's a great story from Bo Smolka about that path, and you'll be able to get that starting on Wednesday at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox, or read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. What you got?
All right. So yesterday, Albert Pujols matched 2 homers, including a 3-run homer in the 8th inning that put the Cardinals up by 4.
Was it his 63rd career multi-home run game?
That's a great question. I should have looked that up. That's not where I was going with my tidbit. Yeah, not where I was going with my tidbit. But he's hit more than just about everyone, aside from 3 guys. So he is so with those 2 homers, brought him 11 away from 700. And it would be really cool to see him get to 700, and he's really close. He's gonna cut it really close. He's also, more importantly, 8 home runs away from surpassing Alex Rodriguez at 696. So if anything happens, hopefully that he accomplishes that. So he needs 11 homers in 48 games.
It was indeed the 63rd multi-home run game of his career.
Wow, very good.
Oh, you know what? I'll have trivia for you after you have trivia for me.
So Pujols needs 11 homers in 48 games, so that's a pace of he needs to hit about 1 every 4 games going through the rest of the season to get to 700. And he has 10 homers this season, so if he hits 11, he get to 21, and it would be his 18th season with 20-plus home runs, joining only Barry Bonds, who did that 20 times, and Hank Aaron, who did it 19.
That's about right.
Mm-hmm. So besides Albert Pujols, I wanted to go in this direction, and I want to know who the active players are that are closest to 700. So among active players, my question is, who has hit the most home runs? I'm looking for the next 9 guys that are closest to 700.
Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah. Yes, correct. Okay, he's number 2, 506. A measly 506.
Yeah, what a pathetic loser. You know what's funny is a bunch of the guys, because we've done lists like that, but Nelson Cruz.
Yep, Nelson Cruz is number 3 in order, 457.
It's remembering who's still active and then trying to do the math on, how many guys are we naming on this list?
I'd like to get to 10. Well, so you have 3, Pujols, Cabrera, and Cruz, so 7 more.
7 more. So I'm going to guess that Mike Trout sneaks in there.
Mike Trout does sneak in there at number 7, 334 home runs.
And that makes me think that Bryce Harper is also on the list.
Harper, I don't see Harper on here.
Quite
How many does
surprising.
Harper have? Oh, there he is. Okay, he is just outside of my top 10.
Quite surprising.
He has 282.
I thought if Trout was on there.
Could Freddie Freeman be on the list?
He certainly has the longevity.
Freddie Freeman is just behind, or he is just ahead of Bryce Harper.
What a stupid idiot!
What a terrible guess! What an awful guess that was!
What a stupid idiot you are.
All the guys in the top 10 have 300 plus.
All the guys in the top.
Not that I'm not sure how much that would really help.
Yeah, it doesn't really help at all.
Just a note.
How about Giancarlo Stanton?
There you go. He is number 4, 371 for Giancarlo Stanton.
Joey Votto.
Number 5, 342.
Glenn's on today.
Yeah.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Goldschmidt rounds out our top 10 at 308 home runs for Goldie.
All right. We're missing 4.
Yes, we are.
Who is
and
still
yeah,
active?
it's 3 guys that 4.
Longoria?
There you go, Longoria. He is 8 home runs behind Mike Trout's, and he is 8th, 326.
Arenado.
Arenado is was he 10? 3, 4? He's right behind Goldschmidt. He's got 294. Yeah, he was 11th. Arenado's 11th, 294.
Who am I not thinking of?
Thinking of a guy who is still in the league. Let's see. He's a pair of brothers.
Pair of brothers.
Yeah, he is. I think when's his last game? His last game was July 15th. I don't know if he was either DFA'd or got injured. I'll find out for you.
Someone who has 2 brothers that are both major leaguers?
Well, he's a set of brothers. He's one. There's 2 brothers. Yeah, they're both major leaguers, and he is one of them.
But there's 2 of them, not 3.
Yeah, there's 2.
So he has a brother.
He has a brother.
It's not Yadier Molina.
No, it is not.
No.
Justin Upton? Is he still in baseball?
He is. Yeah,
he
was.
Really? I thought he was done.
No, he
genuinely
got optioned to AAA. Wait a minute, what?
Is he really?
That has to be a typo. It says he got optioned to AAA Norfolk. That's not right.
Well, he's definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not.
I can promise.
But the Mariners optioned him to whoever their AAA team is.
Justin Upton.
Wow.
It says he's a free agent, right?
Yeah, he elected free agency, or instead of being optioned.
Yeah, he refused an elected free agency. Okay. Wow. Okay,
but
so he's not actually active. That's technically incorrect. He's not active.
Well, he didn't retire yet.
He's not. That does not count as active.
All right. Well, then there you go. Nolan Arenado and Freddie Freeman move up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. How many more?
We have just one more. One more guy who I guess might fall into the same category that you're talking about here.
Who's not actually active, and you're calling him active?
He technically is active.
What do you mean?
But
what does that mean? Is he playing?
He did the same thing. He did the same thing Upton did.
So he's not on a team.
No, he's currently not on a roster.
Then he's not active.
He's a free agent. He's actively a free agent.
That's not. There's a bunch.
I'm a free agent though.
Yes, correct. And he's hit a lot of home runs. I don't know.
That's right.
Carson Weekly's crushing bombs.
2 in my life.
All right. Well, either way, I want you to guess him now.
Someone who's not active.
Yeah, he's been DFA'd a couple times over the last year now. Spent
Cano.
Yep, Robinson Cano.
Yeah.
Robinson Cano. 335.
When you carried, you got like.
Well, I mean, this is actually an easier list than some of the ones because you're just thinking of the guys that hit the most home runs.
Yeah.
And so
with Mike Trout's next 2 home runs, he will move ahead of Robinson Cano.
All right. Well, he's already moved ahead because Robinson Cano is not active. He's already higher on the list.
Wait until Robinson Cano gets picked up again by like the Diamondbacks for the month of September.
All right. Most career multi-home run games. There are. There's a tie for 9th. So there are 11 guys who have at least. At least 53 multi-home run games.
Wow, 53. All right. Well, so I have Bonds.
Yes, Bonds, of course, has
Hank
the most.
Aaron.
Wait. Oh, I see. This is a really dumb way that they listed this list. They listed their 2 home run games, not their multi-home run games. So hang on a second. Let me just do this math again.
Okay.
These are the guys that have the most 2 home run games. But I'll fix this. At least 11 guys have 54 multi-home run games.
Okay.
All right.
That's pretty impressive.
Bonds, and I've already given away Pujols because he's got 63.
And McGuire too, probably.
McGuire definitely is on this list. Mark McGuire had 67 career multi-home
and I would think
games.
Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron is number 5. He's a little bit further down the list.
Barry Bonds was number 1.
Yeah, Barry Bonds was number 1. Okay. Aaron had 62 career multi-home.
I'm gonna say Eddie Murray just because of how long he played.
He did hit a lot of home runs. Eddie Murray. Not on
Frank Robinson.
Frank Robinson is, however, Frank Robinson 54 career multi-home
Babe Ruth.
games. Babe Ruth, of course, would be on this list. You've perhaps heard of him.
Mickey Mantle.
Babe Ruth. Actually, let me take this back. I lied. Barry Bonds 71. Babe Ruth 72.
Wow.
Had the most. Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry. Babe Ruth.
Good for that guy.
You said Mickey Mantle.
Yes.
No, Mickey Mantle not on the list.
Roger Maris.
Not Roger Maris. Had a big season, but not a great career necessarily.
Right. Could it be Ted Williams?
Not Ted Williams.
Are these like really old guys?
One guy one of the guesses that you made, you should have immediately guessed this other guy.
Could it be Brooks Robinson?
No. One of the ones you got right. Another one of the ones you got right. The two of them are.
I don't think this is who I'm. Reggie Jackson.
It's not Reggie Jackson. These two players are eternally intertwined, both not in the Hall of Fame.
Both on. Sosa.
Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, there you go.
Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa. When you say Mark McGwire, you should immediately say Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa actually had 69 career multi-home run games, 2 more than Mark McGwire.
Okay, so what do we have? Like
we have
6 or 7?
7 of the 11. Someone who I believe is still with us, but I think I saw was
Alex Rodriguez. Yeah,
what's that?
Alex Rodriguez.
Alex Rodriguez is definitely still with us and definitely on the list. 62 career. He was on television last night doing something with Derek Jeter.
Yeah, I liked what he said about. He seems like he's.
I don't like anything.
No, sorry. This person did pass away last year. I don't know why. I forgot it. One of these people did just pass away last year.
Joe Morgan.
No, it created quite. There was some controversy related to the All-Star game and this person.
Why can't I think of this? Carson,
the second greatest home run hitter of. Oh no, you already got that person. Never mind. Sorry. Yeah. Scratch that. You know what? I screwed up. You already got Hank Aaron. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
My fault. Okay. I'm thinking of somebody else.
Miguel Cabrera. Is he on our list?
This person is still alive. The one I was thinking of. This is what happened. This person is still alive, and that's who I was thinking of. But I do think I saw might have been failing health now at the age of 91.
Wow.
Someone who
is Miguel Cabrera.
Miguel Cabrera is not on the list. Someone who played for the same team as somebody that you've already named.
Is it Al Kaline?
It's not Al Kaline. I get it. We did Miguel Cabrera. Somebody you got right already.
Who is getting up there or has to be up there? Jeez.
There's a character in the movie Major League that had a very similar name.
Been a while since I watched Major League. Dang.
Willie Mays.
Oh my gosh.
Willie Mays. Willie Mays, number 6 on the list with 63.
Should have gotten Willie Mays. Is that all of them, or there's one more?
You're missing actually 2 more. One you won't get. That's Jimmy Fox, has 55 career.
My next guess.
Tied with this man who we just saw at a baseball stadium last week playing catch.
Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr., exactly right. 55 career multi-home run games. Albert Pujols now is 63.
How many career homers did Ken Jr.
have? 560 or so, I want to say.
Wow.
I want to say something like that. I mean, he got over 500. Maybe he got to 600. The problem, of course, Griffey dealt with injury in the later stages of his career, and so there
630.
630. Holy crap!
So he could have been.
Yeah, there was a time where it was almost a certainty that he was going to surpass, but ultimately injury prevented that from being the case. All right, very good. Totally Tubular, brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. It will be the place to be for UFC 278 on Saturday night, and I keep trying to warn you, fantasy draft, wherever you're doing it, it ain't going to be as good as if you took that first Saturday of college football season. Not week 0, but Labor Day Saturday, week 1. All of the big games. Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Florida, Utah, Ole Miss, Central Arkansas.
I knew you were going to say
of the big games.
I knew you were going to say that.
I think it's Troy that week, actually. All of the huge matchups that weekend. You can bet on them. And we believe the betting pads will be in place by that weekend, which means you won't even have to get off your butt. Hang out, watch all of those games, bet them, and do your fantasy draft, and they'll offer you some great specials for hosting your fantasy draft in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. But you got to email events@sportssocialmd.com right now in order to get signed up. Plus, Maryland and Navy are both in action that day. It's just going to be a festival of college football. The U.S. Open will be going on, so you can have your bets in on tennis matches at the same time. It is, I have said before, we've done this bit where we power ranked best sports watching periods of time. It is my favorite sports weekend of the year. It is my favorite because of fantasy drafts. The first weekend of college football, there's always huge matchups. Plus, you get a Sunday night game and a Monday night game of college football that weekend. So it's like your first taste of what the rest of the year is going to be like. You're reminded that that's going to be a thing. So it's football from Thursday to Monday every night
there's football games on that you can bet on, and you do your fantasy draft that weekend, and the U.S. Open's going on at the same time. And if your favorite baseball team is in a playoff race, holy F. I love the first weekend of March Madness. I understand the greatness of it, but I have said I think that, to me, is the best sports weekend of the year, to me personally. Now, part of that is I love tennis. So
definitely a dark horse to be up there.
Dude, it is great.
Can't be overlooked.
And for some reason, one of those primetime football games always ends up being wonderful. Always ends up being those teams might not be good by week 8. I feel like Texas was involved with one of those games every year.
I feel like it's always Florida State.
Somebody like that.
They played
something like that.
Yeah, and there was a few years ago where Texas beat Notre Dame, and it was Texas is back, folks.
And both of them stunk. They were both terrible. It was worthless. But for that night, it was like a Monday night game. We were all wiling out, woo, because you have no idea.
Texas is back.
You don't know that they stink. You're just I'm willing to believe in anything. Best sports weekends. Spend your Saturday in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel doing your fantasy draft. I cannot recommend it enough. Events at sportssocialmd.com. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. As we mentioned, the Orioles open up their series in Toronto against the Blue Jays on Masson, 7 o'clock. Hal Bradish and Yusei Kikuchi. Kikuchi. That's the pitching matchup. Masson 2, Cubs Nationals at 7, MLB Network Tigers Guardians at 3, Mariners Angels at 11, Fox Sports 1, Astros White Sox at 8. Right now on ESPN, the Little League Softball World Series Final, it features a team playing for the title from Del Mar, Maryland, down on the Eastern Shore, playing for the Little League Softball World Championship against a team from Texas right now on ESPN. Tennis Channel for day 1 of the event out in Cincinnati, which is the big tune-up for the U.S. Open, so a great field for that. That's going on. And the USA Network for WWE Monday Night Raw at 8. Obviously a very important night tonight, non-sports-wise.
Yes, it starts off hot, but the week is kind of slow. Better Call Saul, though, series finale tonight.
I am completely caught up.
Good for you.
I've gotten through the last couple of episodes.
I'm about 6 seasons
behind. Kind of move you into the future. There's a thing that occurs that's a big deal in one of the more recent episodes. But I'm in a weird place with it. I am in a very weird place, what I want out of the finale at this point. I'm in a very strange place about what should happen, who should be, if they're not...
Tell me.
I don't want to spoil anything.
I'll forget.
I just don't know who I want to see die. You know what I mean? Because I don't know.
People die?
Yeah, believe it or not. And they did a big one earlier this season that kind of completely changed the season. So I feel like it's got to lead to somebody else dying. And I don't know, because I think they said they don't want to go back to the universe again. This is it. It's over. And this was so perfect because Bob Odenkirk is so great and this character is so good. I don't really know who I would want them to go back to the universe with. Would I be up for a Gus Fring show? I might be up for an entire series about... I would really be up for an entire series about Mike Ehrmantraut, but we already know he dies. And so, he's so old at this point, you couldn't have him play himself in an origin story. It would not be there's no way to de-age. I don't remember the name of the actor that plays Mike Ehrmantraut. You could not de-age him enough to do an origin story, but that would be the one. If you're going to do one, a Mike Ehrmantraut origin story would be amazing. I'd be all in for that show. The problem being you'd have to have somebody else play him, and I don't know that I would trust that. I don't know if I want anything else from the universe. So I think Saul has to die, but...
Whoa!
I don't know.
What?
I don't know. It's very... I don't know where you go. But the finale is tonight.
Okay.
When does Kevin Kneff himself come back?
That is next week.
Next week. Okay.
Yes. Right. Next week
is
Kevin Kneff himself.
I like that show. I think that was a fun... I watched the first season of that. It's if you didn't watch it, it's incredibly interesting how they do it. And it's good enough, and then on top of the really fascinating way that they do the show, it's worth the watch. I'm excited about it coming back.
Gotcha. Bachelorette new episode, and Jeannie Buss is going to be on Kimmel tonight.
Because the Hulu thing.
Yes, there's a new Hulu LA Lakers Legacy, the true story of the LA Lakers.
It does not interest me the way that You know what? And I feel bad about this. The stupid HBO show kind of ruined it for me.
You think so?
The HBO show
I need to check that out. It looks
it's so fun. It's so good. It's such a joy, and it's complete BS, right? And that's what everybody's mad about is that
it veers so far away from the truth that like people are genuinely pissed about it. It just, the problem is that's better than the truth. Like, now the documentary about the Lakers, I know this isn't just about, this is, I think, a lot to do really with the Kobe Shaq Lakers.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of Shaq.
Yeah. But I don't know.
LeBron's in it, too.
And I read the Perlman book about the Kobe Shaq Lakers, too. I read that, from start to finish, because those teams fascinated me. Jeff Perlman's book about the Kobe Shaq Lakers is incredible. But, again, it kind of portrays Kobe as the villain, and, like, it's... I don't. This.
Yeah.
I might watch it, but it ain't.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of Shaq, a lot of the Bus family, a lot of Genie.
It just ain't
Magic
hitting for me the way I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not amped for it. By the way, you can skip A League of Their Own.
Oh, really?
Go right ahead and skip it. You're gonna watch the first episode. And there's gonna be about 5 different things.
Nick Offerman wasn't enough.
Oh, I'm gonna slap you. If
I really thought it was that.
I'm gonna slap.
Nick Offerman wasn't enough.
There are like 5 different things that will pique your interest in the first episode. You'll be like, maybe there's something here. And they will not sustain any of those things. There is just, like, you'll be like, I get it. This is just a vehicle for Abby Jacobson to be Abby Jacobson. And if you enjoy Broad City the way that I think everybody enjoyed Broad City, you're all for more Abby Jacobson. It's not that. Then you're like, well, maybe it's for, what's her name? Darcy Carden from The Good Place?
Yes.
Isn't it? Like, and, of course, she was wonderful. The Good Place was a tremendous show. You're like, maybe it's just a vehicle for her to be. Nope, it's nothing. There's nothing there. It does not pay homage to the movie. It does not tell a new story, because that's the other thing. He's like starting yourself like, oh, it's like going back and revisiting A League of Their Own, but like let's talk about the black characters in this. And like it's not really that either. It's nothing. It is a giant ball of nothing. Not worth it.
That is disappointing.
And I can't help it. I'm incapable of giving up on a bad show. I have to see it through. I'm going to have to see it through, and I'm miserable.
All right.
I got through 4 episodes.
So we can get daily reports.
Miserable.
Or weekly reports.
It stinks. Well, I think it's all out.
Yeah.
So I think I can be done with it by, like, Wednesday. But,
perfect.
God, it stinks.
One more. This is tomorrow, but, like, we usually have to cut Tubular for on our Tuesday show anyway. So but since Carson's here, I want to bring it up. It's called Hotties. It's a new Hulu's dipping their toes in a dating show now. I don't think you'll be interested, Glenn.
Probably not for me.
But I think they're so funny. So this one, it's a dating show, and people get coupled up, and they're like competing in like a food cooking, like a food truck cooking challenge. But then halfway through, they like get stopped, and they have to eat really, really hot food, and then they like kind of bond over.
This seems
suffering
really
from
forced.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
it really
but
is.
Even for
it
the
really
genre.
Is. Carson, you would have loved the one that we had on Friday. It was called Cosmic Love.
What does that have to do? What is
Cosmic Love? Is they match people up based on their astrology signs.
Oh God, don't! Oh no, astrology.
You should have watched the trailer. Was great.
No. Nope, big time nope. All right, thank you, Griffin. Carson Weekly. People can find you on social media.
That's right. At Carson Ware.
Yes, that's where you say.
Big news for Carson. Ole Miss ranked in the top 21.
In
the preseason, the AP
there we are.
Preseason poll.
They'll probably move up to like 12 by the time they play.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we go out 6-0, which is possible.
Right.
Well, Kentucky's ranked 20th, so that would be a big win.
That actually would be a big win.
A big win. All right, where are you on social media? You said
at Carson Ware
with an I.
That's
at
right.
Carson Ware with an I. Appreciate your hard work this
thank
summer.
you.
Look forward to seeing if maybe there can't be a way that you can keep involved in the future. We will discuss that at some point, but really appreciate all you did, launching the TikTok, all that stuff. Good work, my man.
Thank you. It's been an outstanding opportunity. Just getting to know all you guys and doing this it's great.
It's been great to have you around. All right. Thanks today to Jeremy Conn. Thanks also to Mike Bordick. Thanks as well to Jamie Kaiser Jr., who's coming to Maryland. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. On the program tomorrow, anything?
We will have Jake Mintz.
Our buddy Jake Mintz from Fox Sports, big Orioles fan.
Caleb Joseph.
Oh, Caleb Joseph's going to join us tomorrow, of course. Whenever the Orioles play the Blue Jays, it's a good time to catch up with Caleb Joseph, who's part of their broadcast crew and is just awesome. It's just everything about it. Last time he was on with us, he did the first 5 minutes as Dan Duquette. It was perfection. Love Caleb Joseph. All right, that's coming up tomorrow. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Great Eights Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Visit Howard County, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. In fact, if you want to come find us, we're about to be at Glory Days Grill. Brian Powell lets me know apparently the softball game is in a rain delay, so when it will start at some point. And you go Del Mar, Maryland. All right. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Thanks to Ryan at RexSpecsRyan. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Birds. Go Del Mar. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too.